Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Scratching Post. We scratch that gaming itch, and tonight is the last Tuesday in the month, and that means it is time for the Condensed Podcast.
Yeah!
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. You're through here to the Scratching Post, where I, Ebak, am the host of this channel, and of course, if you're watching on Lemming's channel as well, which what you can do, go check out Lemming down there in the bottom right. And of course, I'm joined here by, of course, David and Shadow. We're doing all this because we're actually properly synced in our relative directions and relative on Discord this time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And today we've got quite a show for you. We've kind of gotten and now, of course, there's the chat on the right hand. So, Bear, our esteemed guest from last time, joining us in the chat. Now, so you know all the drill. It's the Condensed Podcast. We set the world right. We kind of talk about how things have been going in the week. So we're going to quickly wrap up with ourselves. But first, there's someone to introduce to the show, because of course last time it was Burr who was joining us, and tonight we're joined by the fifth member of the group, Dorkter.
Evening. Yeah, there's part of a reason why I wasn't on the last one, which was I was recovering from the good old thing of the world at the moment, which was COVID. So yeah,
you're a survivor.
So I was otherwise engaged, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you were predisposed.
I mean, I can understand that. As someone who's been through it myself, I could understand. Yeah. Well, we kind of went over last time who we are, what we do, and our gaming histories. So check out that episode if you've missed it. But I think it's a good time for us to introduce Dorkter. So give us a bit about yourself. What's your gaming history?
Give us the scoop.
The skinny.
Everything. So with me, really, sort of gaming-wise, it sort of more started back on PC. I had a it was a family PC, obviously, but it was running Windows 98. So that gives you a time frame we're talking about. So probably be like, obviously, like late 90s, early 2000s. Sort of was playing more sort of like racing games back then, but one of the things I'm sort of thinking about potentially thinking of like doing as a stream, like kind of like a series. Like what Weird does is Rayman. I love the series, but Rayman 3 was just kind of like an absolute killer for me. So it's like I want to try and eventually beat that and kind of like avenge my younger self. Then sort of moved on to consoles. I was kind of part of like I really wanted an Xbox, but then because it was also yet again like say like a split thing with my sister, it ended up being on the PlayStation side, which actually turned out to be okay because otherwise then I wouldn't have necessarily been able to play games with say like Ebak, for example, because different system.
Since when you and I played a game on PlayStation? I don't recall this.
We might have, but it's like the principle of it at the very least. Yeah, we've talked about doing it several times, haven't we? So, but say some of the games now you've got cross-party anyway, so it's like it's kind of a bit interesting on that front. But say we went through say PS2, PS3, current on the PS4. I haven't got a 5 yet. So I think I'm kind of one of those people that I don't mind getting it a bit further in its lifetime because it's like, all the early day bugs have already been fixed and sorted and whatever. So you're like, so far down the line now with all the updates, it should be like incredibly stable. Say the PlayStation I got was the Destiny special edition. Because I loved that game so much. I was like, it's kind of weird for me because actually I wasn't a big fan of the Halo series, but they make the Destiny game, and I love that game. So it's kind of weird on that. So like, you can appreciate something from somebody else, and you go, "Oh, it's them who made it." It's like,
Actually, brings up a nice question, which I think would be nice to ask kind of the chat. Excuse me, I'm just kind of quickly dusting something off my microphone. You got a special edition console. I've never actually go around the table. Have any of us actually had a special edition console?
I have. I still have it. It's in a box back there. I have the Halo 4 edition Xbox 360.
Nice. I think the only special console I've owned, which I've got somewhere in this room, is a Pikachu 3DS.
All right, yeah.
What's that head shake for, Shadow?
tiny, honest. Except unless you count, as in the most sort of special sort of thing I have is a clear backed Game Boy Advance, which I don't have with me, which is back at my parents'.
Ooh.
But that's about the only special edition console I have. I don't have nothing special here, I'm afraid. It's plain old.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, because they tend to be pretty difficult to pick up when you've got them. Like I remember when I picked up a PlayStation Pro, a few months later they announced the PlayStation Pro, the Kingdom Hearts edition or something, and I was like, I would have killed for that.
Here's the thing. I got it when Halo 4 released. For some reason, my chair is shit. Got it when Halo 4 released, and I ordered 2 copies of Halo 4. Because the console came with the base edition. So I ordered the console, and the collector's edition, which is somewhere up there, and then gave the copy from the console to a friend of mine. So we could play together.
But yeah, I upgraded as well. A few years ago, I decided I'd buy a PlayStation 4. It's not a PlayStation, a PS4 Pro. I had a PlayStation 4 from the early days. I just gave my old one away to a friend of mine.
Yeah. It's what you do when you go up a generation. You give your good friend the previous generation.
Or you hoard it like I do.
Or that. I mean...
That's a nice segue into a topic for later, but we'll move back to Dorkter. So primarily PlayStation is your history.
Yeah, but then I did also go through a little bit of a handheld stuff as well, because I did have, like, I'm not saying like the Game Boy Color, but I had like most of the advanced, including the micro. So literally like nearly every single one of the advanced Game Boy Advanced stuff.
Oh wow.
I had, and then I bought. What did I get? PSP. Then I went 3DS. Didn't get to do well with that. And then I got a Vita, which I use very, 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 very good.
Wait. Are you telling me that you're one of the 3 people in the world, one of which is me, who's got a Vita?
So who's the other one?
Jim
Sterling. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I actually really, really want a Vita. I just never got one because they were really expensive.
Yeah, my sister who works in the entertainment industry.
Gerard's
the 4th.
The 3rd must be Burr, by the way he's phrased that.
Oh, the 4th is Gerard, apparently.
Yeah, Gerard then. The completionist, of course. The completionist would have a PS.
Well, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
My sister asked me one year, do you want an iPad or a PlayStation Vita? And I said PlayStation Vita. Some would argue I picked the wrong horse in that one, but
I argue you picked the best horse in that one because fuck Apple.
Yes.
I loved I still obviously still have it, but I use it so regularly. I love kind of obviously like the touchpad on the back. Yeah, you can tell that he brought that into the PS4. Like there's some stuff that's brought out in that you can see like a parallel with like different consoles that they've had or whatever.
Yeah, it was a test bed.
And I kind of loved it for that. But I think the one thing I was a little bit depressed with was on, as I did my pre-order, I wanted something a bit different, but they didn't have it in when I went to go and get it, so they didn't obviously order enough, or weren't able to order enough. So I then had to. I think that might be why I changed out for the football game that starts with F and is backed by the same people who do the service for Squadrons.
Oh no!
Other sports games are available.
Other sports should be available. To be fair.
Why isn't there a cricket sports
football,
game?
Watch the football! It's gonna move. Sorry, I couldn't.
We need a fucking cricket FIFA game.
But and then obviously fairly recently, I've obviously been playing PC because that's obviously how I play Squadrons and stuff like that. It feels like I've kind of gone back full circle. But yeah, when I was younger, I used to play Colin McRae Rally.
Well, Colin McRae, yes.
Oh, gee.
I had somebody who I was friends with, say friends without using the term loosely, when I was at school. Their steering wheel setup, I was useless. But now obviously I do my trucking stuff with a wheel. So I think might be just obviously that thing that I wasn't driving either, and that sort of feels second nature kind of thing, obviously. So it might be part of that. So yeah, I think that really sort of wrapped up in a nutshell.
You're breaking up pretty badly
yeah,
there, buddy.
say, is it the mic then that's breaking up? Because if so, I can do it.
I think
no,
it's your internet connection.
It's the
Your
connection.
video's
It's the connection.
spotty too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But keep going.
Technical issues, technical teething
gets-
issues.
If it gets bad, let me know, and I'm more than happy to kill the webcam for the purpose of this.
We'll see. We'll see how things go. But
yeah, that's why I said just let me know.
But no, and is there any particular kind of games you do? I mean, you tend to gravitate towards sports and driving games, particularly what I've seen you do. I've seen your collections.
Yeah.
You've got Euro Truck, Euro Truck, Gran Turismo.
Yeah, that is kind of where I gravitate to. But say I am, open to other things as well. Because really, like say, the Assassin's Creed stuff is kind of like really say like after Brotherhood and Revelations, I haven't played, and then say I got myself back with Origins. So there's obviously quite a bit of a time frame between those two games. So it's like it's not one that's kind of like very sort of recent and well known to me at that sort of obviously time. So it's like relearning a whole new game. So I will happily have everything if I kind of at least enjoy the sort of premise of it all, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's fair. But no, welcome to the show. So just for audience members who are tuning in, it's going to be an alternating thing. So Dorkter will be on this show, Bear will be on the next one, Dorkter will be on the one after that, and so on and so forth, with us having the last Tuesday of the month being the night of the show. So shall we delve into some news topics that kind of caught our eye over the last
Let's get spicy.
month? Get spicy. Time to get spicy. Epic versus Apple. It's a tale that's been going on for a while. Here we go. Yes, it's been going on for a while here. Apple versus Epic. Apple, I believe, are attempting. You're the one that brought this to our attention, Lemming.
Yes, Apple are attempting to. How do you pronounce that fucking word? Subpoena.
Subpoena.
Yeah, subpoena. They're attempting to subpoena Valve Corp for all of their fucking sales history when it comes to Epic Games. Which obviously is dragging Valve into this power struggle.
I can't have that on screen, so we're gonna have there we go. Apple versus Epic, the biggest as I mean it's kind of a fair topic really. Because this all kind of started when Epic wanted to start selling their own kind of expansions and money packs inside the game direct to consumer. That got smacked down by Apple and Google as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's TOS, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets TOS. And Epic did this whole thing of getting on their soapbox saying how this is to giving the consumer choice and so on and so forth. And of course...
It's not. It's because they don't want to give up 30%.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically, which is what we're going to get into the topic in. So yeah, this Steam trying to get dragged into it is interesting because it means that you're bringing a big player on the kind of board on the game selling side of things into the situation, and yeah, I don't think it's going to work on either one's favor, and I think people seem to be on the side of Epic. I'm not, but nor am I on Apple side in this one.
I'm on neither side of this particular debate. Well, of the debate of Apple versus Epic. Both companies have done shitty things. But in this particular case, Epic started the fight, and it's a stupid fucking fight.
It's a stupid fight, and it's a fight basically saying we don't want to have to pay we don't want to pay our taxes, so why should we have to pay Apple our our 30%? Which is basically what it is. It comes down to money. The thing which I just like most about it is Apple are very clear and cut about their position. This is in their terms of service. This is how it works. I can get behind that because, like, okay, well, yeah, they knew what they were signing up to.
Yeah.
Yes, you can get into an argument, is it right or is it wrong? But that you go into that agreement.
Yeah.
Epic, entirely different, because I take more problem with how they dress up this little show of theirs. They dress up everything that Epic seems to do in their perspective, and this relates to the Epic store as well, is in the interest of giving the consumer choice.
Player choice.
When really the option is we're giving the consumer the choice so long as that choice is Epic.
Yes.
Basically, what it is, they want to basically have all of the income profits coming from it, and the fact that they're so disingenuous to dress it up as something noble is what really grinds my gears.
The moment I knew Epic couldn't be trusted in this particular situation was mere minutes, less than an hour after they'd been taken off of the Apple Store. Apple had booted Epic and Fortnite off of the Apple Store. That's it, you're gone. And then within an hour, a finely crafted video went online by Epic Games using the Fortnite engine, completely spoofing Apple's own 1984 advert.
They knew it was going to happen.
That was prepared far ahead of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I know.
that just proved to me that this was a fight that they were preparing for. This wasn't a, oh no, how could you do in this situation? This was punching the guy in the face, them retaliating, and then them going, why would you do that?
Yeah. Typical bully tactics.
It's bully tactics.
Yeah.
And you know, I can appreciate that maybe Apple take a bit too much in terms of 30%. We can all agree about maybe that's definitely a debate that can be had.
That is a debate, but it's also the same amount that Valve takes.
Same amount that Valve takes.
And I know Google Store can't be that different.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this whole thing is the fact Epic dress it up as something noble is what irks me the most about this whole thing.
Yeah, it's completely disingenuous.
They say it's for giving it's consumer choice, and I'm all for consumer choice. But the thing is, it's not about giving consumer choice. It's about making people choose at Epic, and so they can get as maximum profit as possible. And it's all motivated by the idea of we want to make as much money and profit as possible. We don't want to share it with someone who we're leeching off.
It's been the same. Yeah, it's been the same marketing strategy they've had since they opened their own store.
Which we all have a problem with, because it's a shit store. They say it's about giving player choice, but the thing is, to compete with Steam, we need to be able to have exclusives. So basically, it's like, yeah, we're giving people the choice. However, that choice is buy Epic or wait a year.
Yeah, they're veiling it as consumer choice. They're veiling it as we're doing it for the consumer. We're doing it for the gamer. We're doing it for the person that buys the products. But we're also throwing money. Because we've got loads of money, because we're the Fortnite people, we're throwing all the money at these developers, be them indie or AAA developers. Let's not forget Metro Exodus. Throwing money at these developers so that they release only on our platform.
I'm gonna fucking say it, because I might as well. Sorry, go on, Doctor.
I was gonna say, I think basically that's the same thing as what Burr raises in his last two comments. That's also a great tactic to misinformation and painting yourselves as the good guys in the story for those who don't know the full story.
Yep.
And by great, I mean horrible tactics for douchebags.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, go on, Shadow.
And doesn't it just rankle you as somebody who considers himself a gamer that you're being used as a stick to batter somebody over the head? Just like, excuse me.
Yeah.
You're not exactly working for us here either.
Yeah, I do not consent. I do not consent to you using my image, me, for this purpose.
Yes.
Precisely, and that's the whole thing about it. Is I really hate this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so manipulative, and that's the thing with Apple. Sure, at least Apple are being fucking upfront and honest about what they're fighting for. It's in our terms of it's in our terms of service.
Yeah, I mean,
give us the money which we're owed. It's
Yeah, Apple have set their marketplace. Everyone abides by that because it's Apple's platform.
Mhm.
That's it. They built the platform. I might not like the company for various moral reasons, but I will fight for them on the idea that that's their platform.
They can do with it what they want.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I just sit at the back. I'm just sitting at the back. I just want to grab Apple, Epic, and just smash their heads together. Just shut the fuck up. For God's
No.
sake.
I want to take both of them, and go, look, you've both got billions of dollars, right? There's a big well. No, you don't.
I mean, personally, I'm just gonna say what I was gonna say earlier, which is I do think also is I admire an underdog story, but I just can't help but look at Epic and think you're only thinking of the shit because Fortnite came along.
Yep.
Mm.
Without Fortnite, you're nothing. Without Fortnite, you're nothing.
What boggles me is the fact that Fortnite was supposed to be a full game.
Yes,
they released Fortnite Battle Royale. Keep in mind that's a tagline: Fortnite Battle Royale, as a sort of open demo to what was going to be a full game with a story and a cohesive actual.
Yeah, it was a side thing.
Game to it, and then they went, "Fuck, this is making lots of money." Fold everything into just this.
Yeah, I mean, power to them. They leaned into something that was good for them. So you can't progress into that. But at the same time, I still think no company I think has had their ego inflated as quick as Epic has. I think, to the point where they're like, "Hey, we can fucking take on Apple and Google."
Yeah,
and it's like, as soon as I'm like, Joe, you may want to just sit down there, partner.
Yeah, maybe pump the brakes a little.
Pump the brakes before you hurt yourself.
Yeah, you can tell when somebody's getting a bit too big for their boots and they're taking on those kind of guys.
Yeah, the old phrase of "check yourself before you wreck yourself" comes to mind.
Yeah, they lucked out. Yeah, Bear put it quite eloquently in his latest post. They lucked out big time with Fortnite, but I wouldn't say they're nothing without it. They rake in good potential of their Unreal Engine licensing. That's fair. But the thing is, the Unreal Engine licensing wasn't doing them much shit in terms of compared to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yes, they licensed that out, but they had that way before Fortnite, and they've only been going to become this kind of large entity since Fortnite was such a runaway success.
Yeah, I mean, they might have been big, in the industry before now, because frankly, they're the guys that made Unreal Tournament. They're the guys that made Gears of War, a very popular, Microsoft second party title, and they've always been big. But then they went catastrophic. They went atmospheric with Fortnite. The fact that Fortnite became such a huge cultural video game. Not just a game. It's not just a thing gamers play. It's a thing everyone plays.
Have any of us played Fortnite? Any one of us played Fortnite?
I have played Fortnite.
And
I've played it a couple of times because I've always been interested in the battle royale genre.
No, but there you go, Lemming. You've played it. Us three haven't, yet we still know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's part of the zeitgeist.
Yeah, everybody knows it exists, and that's the main point. It's infected the culture. Kids at school will talk about it.
A bit like FNAF, really, except FNAF is a little more benign.
Yeah.
And I'll fight for Scott Health, honestly.
Or it's not just necessarily talking about the game; it's the dances that go along with it.
Right.
Well, sorry.
Okay. No. Please go on. I was going to move along. You say your piece.
Well, I was going to say, going all the way back to Valve getting subpoenaed. I was just going to say, Valve doesn't like being subpoenaed because the last time they were subpoenaed by Digital Homicide, that fucking company broke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so maybe Epic have bitten off more they can chew with this one.
Yes.
To quote a statement from Valve itself on the subject, with their refusal to supply the information subpoenaed by by Apple.
Oh, they're refusing.
Oh yeah, they're refusing. Apple's demands would impose an extraordinary burden on Valve to query, process, and combine a massive amount to create the documents Apple seeks. Materials that Valve does not create or keep in ordinary courses of business. and with
Oh.
little or no value, as Valve does not compete in the mobile app market at issue.
Oh yeah, and it would be well, yeah,
you.
but think about it, because think how many places that Steam does business in.
Yeah.
You've got to go
Yeah.
through the GDPR. You've got to go through whatever laws that the US has, not to mention the entirety of the EU as well. That's a mess. They can't
Yeah.
ask for all of that.
They want all of their sales information.
It's not it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to get all that information, even if it's stored.
Yeah, they would have to hire, build, and create a company specifically for the job of sorting this information.
Let's draw a line under that topic with
Yeah.
what Molgo said. Apple, Google, Epic are just as bad as one another.
True. Also,
Preaching
why
to
the
choir.
fuck do they not pay their taxes? Sorry for the language.
Why the fuck do you not pay your taxes, people? Come on. I pay my taxes. I have no
I pay
choice but to pay my
mine.
taxes.
Yeah, I gotta pay
As-
mine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pay my taxes. Taxes get taken from me.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
You know, to quote
As-
to quote Chris Rock, that's not a payment. That's a jack.
Yes, David?
As somebody who's a part qualified accountant, hearing that makes me scream every damn time.
Yeah, they don't pay their taxes. And I get
Yeah.
it. It's because loopholes. They technically don't have residual in the UK. They have a company that operates in the
doesn't
Maldives.
matter, though.
That doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah,
as
our
far as
head
I'm
office is
concerned.
in this tiny island, in this one
No,
building,
or is
which
it-
is also the home office of 150 other large companies.
Yeah. Fucking
Or was
activist
that-
Blizzard live in a basement in what is it, Luxembourg or
Yeah.
Holland?
Or was it Facebook UK who have an office based in Ireland or something?
Mm,
One of the companies that does stuff here has a business in Ireland with the whole Brexit situation. That's made it even worse.
Yep.
Oh, this whole mess. Let's move on
Backfired on
to
them.
cancel culture. At it again, potentially.
Yay!
Oh, here we go. This is where it's going to get spicy, people.
So it gets
It might not,
spicy.
actually. It might not.
So
That depends.
So, what kind of spice you got for us this time, Ebak?
Gina Carano, I think is how
Spicy
it's pronounced.
spice.
Ah,
So Gina Carano fired by Disney or / Lucasfilm for her inflammatory, shall we say, comments
Just a little.
made on her Twitter page, and there, as a result of what people are saying is cancel culture, or people are claiming is cancel culture, there was a backlash against Disney Plus in this regard, with ironically people canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, because apparently consequences aren't a thing you can have in modern day culture.
Oh no, the consequences of my actions.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly cover this very briefly and how I feel. I have a contract. I work in an insurance company. There's a clause in that contract which states that in my actions on social media platforms negatively impacts the company, I am perfectly with it. They are perfectly in the rights to discipline me, which might lead to my dismissal. Basically, if I say something that makes them fall upon ill repute, I can be fired for it.
yeah.
Same
A
here.
lot of companies have that. My company has that clause.
I am a fucking nobody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fucking nobody. I dread to think what actors and actresses and high profile celebrities have in their contracts to multimedia companies whose whole thing is about media. I mean, that's the thing with me and my job. I talk over the phone. You're never going to see who I am or know who I am. But the thing is, with Gina Carano, it's not like you can hide the fact Gina Carano's in your show or associate with your company. You know, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, if you are the face, you are one of the faces of a multi-billion-dollar agency, like show at this point, you have a responsibility to yourself and the company you represent to not be a fucking idiot.
Yeah, and remember the magnitudes of how important it is, because she's not just herself. She is a character in a very high profile show in a very high profile company. So, you know, the magnitudes of don't fuck this up is
Yeah.
A lot.
There's also a lot of in terms of sorry, go on, David.
No, it's kind of like a similar. I know it's obviously different related things, but you say that it makes me think of Mark Ruffalo and the leaks he made about the Avengers that he nearly got fired for.
Mm.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Thing is, him being
and then did they turn around and say actually that made it actually really popular, so no harm, no foul. But please, please, please don't do it again.
basically, yeah, that there are,
And
a
then Tom
company.
Holland did it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that there are things in place in companies, and we also don't know what happens behind the scenes. She said quite a few things, as has her co-star Pedro Pasco, who people are calling for to be dismissed because of things he's allegedly said. Although I would say what he has said is a chasm different to what she has said. Maybe one of them was in poor taste, but definitely not in, I'd say, worthy of dismissal. We also don't know because it could be that both were warned. She stopped. He stopped. She didn't.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
and if that's the case, well, you were warned. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. You've had your 3 strikes.
Yeah.
Or however
And-
many it takes.
Yeah, I've just
Yeah,
dropped
that kind
a
of
link
feels.
to the Discord of something I saw earlier as well, which is another.
Please go on, David.
No, that kind of feels like very much of like those Top Gear vibes when they got rid of Clarkson.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Like there was all that stuff that they got away with, and it got to a point where one thing was too much. Like those rumors of stuff happening behind doors and stuff like that. But say obviously like certain number plates, certain jokes. It gets to a point where one of them is one too far.
Yeah, I mean, I found the 3 of them, Clarkson and Richard Hammond and when I forget words,
James May.
They're a very, very entertaining trio. They always will be.
Yeah.
But even as a fan of classic Top Gear and a fan of the Grand Tour, he's an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So you say that, it just reminds me of that scene in Back to the Future 3 where he's standing in the saloon as Tannen counts him down, and they call him a yeller, and Michael J. Fox just goes, "He's an asshole."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like Jeremy Clarkson is a dick. I'll say it. I'm a fan. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I saw their live
He's a
show.
dick.
Just before they got fired. I saw the
he's
Top Gear live show.
entertaining, but he's a dick.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favourite bands is a band called Megadeth. You all might have heard of it. It's a very popular metal band. Their singer / guitarist, Dave Mustaine, has been an asshole for 40 years. I still love the music.
And he is living very much on borrowed time from all the stuff he did in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
He should, in theory, not be with us now.
Yeah.
So here's the actual article above us right now.
It's a newish article. So.
It was from a day ago from the BBC. States headline: Gina Carano, Mandalorian star, accuses Disney and Lucasfilm of bullying. Earlier this month, the actress shared an Instagram story that compared hating someone for their political views to the treatment of Jewish people during the Holocaust.
Oh, that
Lucasfilm, who make the man, yeah. Lucasfilm
That makes me cringe.
Yep. Lucasfilm, who made the Mandalorian, called it abhorrent and unacceptable. But Carano's defended herself in an interview with the Ben with the Ben Shapiro. Who the fuck is that?
I've seen
Shapiro show.
Let's just say he's a conservative idiot. Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough. We're very liberal here on the show. I've seen the bullying that takes place. I'm going to go down fighting. So the actress who played Cara Dune in the series. You know how boxers headhunt? Sometimes they forget to go. Why? Okay, she's talking about how she's fighting it, but she's not really saying why she's fighting it on the basis that the fact that she should be able to say what the fuck she likes without consequences.
Well, she says further down the article.
I was gonna say, but yet again, this is like the one too far. If she described it to something else other than that, it's a different issue. But because she referred it to that specifically, that's where you have the problem.
Yeah, if she compared it to anything else, I think it'd have been fine. But it was that specific comparison that was absolutely awful, because what you're doing is you're saying, okay, here's a group of a very broad right-wing group who let's just say, are majority quite aggressive in how they act, shall we say,
Yes.
and imposing upon strict views that oppress particular minorities, not necessarily color people, but people, that people have prejudices, and gay people and things like that, to people who are victims of exactly what that. And I know that's a very broad net to cast over a right wing, because there are a lot of right-wing people who have right wing views who are fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensible, I think is the
Yes.
word I will use. But yeah, it's the fact you're comparing victims to aggressors, and it's not comparable, especially since one's religious, one's political, and political views the fair game, because you
Mhm.
choose. People tend to not choose. People, I know people say you choose religion, but people tend to be born into religious families, and that tends to be what religion you are. And whether you can choose to leave that religion or go to a different religion, and in the end, but it's still a religious group. And I think we're getting to the point where now people are starting to treat religious ideologies as political ideology as religious ideologies, which they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes quite cultish behavior, and that in itself is worrying.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal did post a picture of immigrants, I'm assuming immigrants in cages, and compared that to the Holocaust. But, and again, that's the one which I could say could be seen as tasteless. But
Yes.
he was also shining an issue on, like, hey, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
He was comparing victims to victims.
Yeah, and also he's not punching down while he's doing it.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not punching down while doing it. He's more saying this is kind of fucked up. We should kind of look into this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is understandable. It might be of bad taste, but at the same time, he's making a point.
Yes.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Gina Carano's tweet to me comes off as, people are being so mean to me. Stop being mean to me. Wow.
Basically, yeah.
She is comparing people with certain ideologies not being liked by people with other ideologies to 6 million people of a certain faith getting murdered.
Yes.
Yes. And here's the thing: people can say, well, you can say what you want. It's free speech. Free speech is not a shield that makes you impervious to consequences. Free speech protects you from the government. It protects you so that if you criticize the government, you can't suddenly just disappear into a black bag one night.
Yeah.
You are free to say it, but you're not free from the consequences of saying it.
If I were to step up, here's the comparison I've been using, and maybe it's a fallacy payment. I don't know. I'm just making what I think is a fair argument. If I step up to someone and look dead in a husband's eyes, and look at his wife, and then look at his husband and say, "Your wife's ugly," and he punches me in the face, and then I sue him, a court would laugh me out of the courtroom for saying it was my free speech to call his wife ugly.
Yeah. Also,
Because, I was being a dick,
Yeah, exactly. And the example I like to use is, if I go into a crowded area, well, crowded before COVID, come on, and yell fire like really loudly, and I'm gonna get in trouble for doing that, because I'm creating a fault. Because I can yell that if I want to.
Yeah, you could cause a panic.
But I can cause a panic. I could do horrible things. I can cause a panic with my actions, but I'm gonna get imprisoned for that, because I could kill somebody or hurt them.
Yeah, you can cause a trample and get somebody murdered.
We just need to say Hillsborough, and everybody can sort of see where that's going.
Yep.
So you're free to say it, but you're not free from the consequences.
Yeah.
And anybody who pretends that free speech is the shield, like, but I could say it. Like, yeah, you could say it, but also terms of service, my friends.
A private company is not a country. They've got rules,
Yeah. It's exactly the same with what happened a few years ago with the amount of people shouting, "It's just a prank, bro!
It's just a joke. It's just a joke."
A joke goes so far until somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's a joke. Well, it wasn't a funny one then.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, we're not covering the anti-COVID tweets, Burr, but I do agree with you in terms of that those were irresponsible of her. It's more the fact that it was the comparison to of the victims of the thing. Like, I do think there's some arguments to have, but we're not going to talk about that because I think it leads into COVID and responsibility and social responsibility. I think we kind of exhausted this topic, and it's nice for us to move on
Yeah,
to something
we
else.
are all well
And-
aware of what should and should not be done, and if you are ignoring your social responsibilities, then I have no respect for you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I work. Just full disclosure, I work in the NHS and I handle I used to handle medical records, and I've seen discharge summaries of patients coming out of hospital. It's fucking real. Wear a fucking mask. I don't
Mm.
give a shit.
Yeah, I don't
And-
get the whole
and-
dying, but yeah.
And technically, other consideration is 50% of this podcast that are currently on here tonight have had it.
Yeah, you and I have caught it, so.
Not
Of
hard
course,
to
the
get
two
one of
bloody
these.
redheads. Jesus Christ.
It's not hard to get
maybe-
one of these.
Yeah, made for me.
Maybe there's a statistic in there somewhere. Maybe ginger people are more likely to catch it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, don't look at me. Don't look at me. I don't know the
50
science behind it.
All I know is I never
Yeah.
fucking go anywhere, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, 50% of this podcast are redheads. 100% of those redheads had COVID. What does that tell you?
Well, there might be a statistical anomaly there, but we'll move. Let's move away from that and let's talk about something which is linked to kind of what dear old Dorkter wanted to talk about, which is remakes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's in our broad day, so I kind of like, sort of like, was like going to be like a fleeting thing, because there was a blog which I saw, which was, I was going to say, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is Crazy Taxi, but it's not. It's called Chaos. Something I can't remember.
Taxi Chaos.
It's in the Taxi Chaos. The first thing I saw, I was like, this is like Crazy Taxi. It got me onto like the whole like debate of like, you know, thinking about where you go with that. Like, say, you know, Theme Hospital and 2 Point kind of obviously, yeah, in that case, actually, it's a better comparison because effectively, wasn't it, the people who made Theme Hospital moved over to make 2 Point, and you know, it's basically the same game, but in this case, it's been modernized.
Yeah, well, you get that quite a
current
lot.
consoles.
It's a spiritual sequel, which is definitely supposed to invoke those same feelings, but it is a different. It's a different name. It's simply because they can't use the actual name.
Oh, yeah.
And
This actually.
and
Carry on.
and I was going to say, sorry, and some games you say about that spiritual legacy, like say if you look more at, say, I don't know, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Planet Coaster, you know, Planet Coaster you think is a spiritual successor,
Mhm.
but it's had a different put on, so it might give off the same kind of vibes, but in a different way. So it's a
Well, we've seen it before with Cities XL. You know, before SimCity used to be the city sim game that you
You
played.
mean Skylines, Ebak?
That's it. Skylines.
City
Sorry,
Skylines, yeah.
City Skylines.
it's still like City in it. I can see
Well,
where the
yeah,
confusion was.
they've got the first like start, so I
Yeah.
can totally
City
understand.
Skylines. And you know, then SimCity 2013, whatever it was, came out, was awful, absolutely terrible. Here comes another company along and says, okay, here's what the game should be like. And
Colossal Order, like, hey guys, we got a city builder that's actually decent.
the perfect storm, and they ran with it. I mean, sometimes it requires a new look at the through the looking glass, as it were, to kind of get, because some people kind of get mired into what is, especially when you've got a series which has a name attached to it. There are certain expectations that some developers might feel like gets caught in the weeds a bit too much, or try and reinvent something when fans, sometimes people who fans know best, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's really weird how that works at times. Another reason I wanted to bring this topic up is because Shadow,
Hello.
you've got stuff to talk about regarding a remake or a remaster that's coming along.
Oh, are you talking about Diablo 2?
Well, not just that. Oh, well, I was actually specifically referring to the Mass Effect Legendary Editions, but
Ah, yes, and honestly, a lot of things have just happened in a short space of time because
yeah,
BlizzCon
BlizzCon.
BlizzCon just well, it dropped like a couple of days ago. But
Yeah, I've never been big
I
into
saw-
Blizzard stuff, but I did see some like Lost Vikings coming back, which I'm all for.
Yeah, well, I just saw the Diablo 2 remake, and it made me smile in a way because I was like, oh, that was what we were talking about on the on the first podcast. This is going to go well, but I'm going to ignore that because it's literally just an announced trailer at the moment. The proof is unfortunately going to be in the pudding. And cross fingers for all Diablo 2 fans that it actually comes out good. I really want it. I really want people. I just prefer people to be happy. I don't, regardless of what the company's done and everything. I just don't screw it up for the fans, for fuck's sake.
Mm.
But yes,
Cyberpunk.
Oh, you said it on me.
No,
Yes.
it was my allergies. I didn't actually say it.
I will pretend I heard nothing. But yes, Mass Effect 2 Legendary Edition.
Mass
Now-
Effect Legendary Edition, not Mass Effect 2.
Yes.
That's not quite legendary.
I'm sorry, Mass Effect 2 is the best of the Shepard trilogy.
Good point.
I'll
Good
fight
point.
anybody who says otherwise.
I concede.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a great thing. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the Shepard trilogy is all being rolled into one. But there's been some controversy, as there always is.
There always is. Go
And
on then.
of course, the controversy is that the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is just slightly tweaking FemShep's appearance and also cutting down on the butt shots.
They removed the butts!
And of course, somehow this is, well, everybody's gotten very, very mad very, very quickly. But
As the internet is wont to do.
yes. And if you want these gentlemen have heard me when I've gone on sort of tirade about
Well,
BioWare.
I just need to ask, were you about to say if you want my opinion?
No,
Because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, well, I was gonna grant my opinion, and then I'll let the guys interject. But for me, I'm kind of glad this is happening, because there is the infamous Miranda butt shot where she's telling you about her abusive dad, and just getting ready for the loyalty mission, and then the camera fixes like directly behind her on her ass crack, and it's just like, this moment is completely ruined.
Yeah.
And extremely annoying. And I guess I have to speak as a woman here. For myself, it feels incredibly degrading. Just like,
Yeah.
oh, great, thanks. Just
Yeah.
And I think it hurts more that they do it directly to Miranda, sort of thing. I know they do it to some other characters as well. I think they do it.
But
I can go.
But she's kind of like the kind of the female character you think about for Mass Effect, really, with the series.
And she's sort of put out as this perfect woman kind of thing, and it's just like,
Exactly.
it's just like, this is really kind of fucking, this is gross. I don't feel comfortable with this thing, and it's a shame, because Mass Effect as a series for me really sort of made me the woman I am right now. It gave me self-confidence, and
Really, I couldn't tell, given that you're wearing an N7 hoodie right there, or had or a model of the Normandy, or an N7 shot glass on your desk. I could not tell.
stop it. But what was I going to say?
It's almost like we buy things from things we like.
Yes, but
Yeah.
Okay, good point.
It's this dichotomy of this powerful woman who is not questioned when she's in a position of authority, and then you go and do that to another female character, sort of thing. And other stuff happens in Mass Effect 3 as well, such as you get everybody knows about Ashley. I can't remember her surname. Fuck.
Williams.
Ashley Williams. Yeah, thank you. And Kane Alenko, the Vermeer survivor, and they come back in the third game, and Caden's all bulked up. He's got these big strong armor sort of thing, but Ashley's in a cat suit, and it's like, in a cat suit, and of course it's down here where you could see cleavage. It's just like,
Of course.
and it's just like, what? And there's also butt shots for Miranda in Mass Effect 3 again, which is
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I actually do agree with you that the butt shots are very degrading. Hi, James. I see the chat. I actually am not surprised they changed it, because when you're kind of going back and changing something as developers, you kind of get a kind of a new look at things, And I'm guessing they're looking at it thinking, yeah, kind of tasteless. Let's change it. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And people are complaining that it's like, oh, it's changing it's changing the fabric of the games. It's like it's not.
It's
No,
It
it's not.
really isn't.
I
Because
mean,
you're looking back. Sorry, Lemming.
no,
I'll
keep
let
going,
you
keep
go in a
going.
minute. But you're looking back at the game. Like they're getting to do something that very few developers get the opportunity to do, is to go back to their old work and do it again in a way, and sort of go, well, considering the amount of effort it apparently took them to get Mass Effect 1 like running on systems, it's more of a kind of a remaster rather than a remake, but that's kind of a bit of both, but let's not go into that. But they get to see these things again in a new light and go, ooh, this was okay at the time, but let's not do that again. Let's just change a few camera angles, shift a few things over,
Yeah.
and I like that because they're putting in. I don't know if you heard, they put in the default fem shep from 3
Yes.
from the very beginning, but
Yes.
also allowing the default from 1 and 2 to be in there as well.
All right, yeah.
So if you don't want to use the red-headed fem shep, you can have the original one.
Now,
And
why would anybody not use that one?
Red Shep, best friendship. You know,
Yeah.
it's what it is. I mean, I do agree with you. I want to get Lemming speak, but one thing I do want to say is James in the chat, butt shot to everyone or no one, but hashtag butt shot equality in the chat. I mean,
I'm just gonna say, if they take the butt shot of Caden away, well, that leads to another thing. But I better let Lemming go, otherwise I'll be here all night.
My only comment is the fact that the character of Miranda was always a more sexual character than most other female characters in the Mass Effect series.
I mean, if
disagree.
From her design up, her physical design has always been, that was her physical design point. She was, as you said, perfect female example. It's in her backstory that she was genetically designed to be that way. But at the same time, the shots used in the original games were not necessary in the scenes they were used in.
Yes, thing. It changes nothing.
Yeah.
It changes nothing.
Her character as it is the way it is. Nobody has ever had a problem with that. That character isn't changing.
Yeah. In fact,
What is changing is context of the shots used.
Yeah, and in fact, it might even enhance her character, because as the shots change and become more flattering to her, like they're not showing her butt in a very, very emotional moment, people might, I don't know, they might empathize with them.
I mean, those butt shots will have distracted from the actual emotion of the scene.
They did
Exactly. Exactly. It takes out, because why are you showing me butt when I should be seeing the person's face and their emotions? And because that's it's a very deep. That was a very deep scene for Miranda, and it should be treated with the gravitas that it deserves.
Yeah.
Yet the butt shot kind of just makes
It breaks
it. It for me, it makes it feel like the developer's thinking, "Oh no, people are bored. We need a butt shot to wake them up." And it's like, no.
And on an aside, it bears noting that Ashley, her full name Ashley Williams, is the same name as the main character from the Evil Dead series.
Ah.
Yes.
Ash Williams.
Yes.
Which gets me all sorts of conflicted.
Well, does anybody want to go before I go on my
Dorkter?
Say, Mass Effect's the thing is I have no idea about anyway, so
you should play it.
You should. With the Legendary Edition coming up, you don't really have an excuse, I'm afraid.
I do, but I'm not going to go there.
Okay, fair. I'll let you off on this one.
But say if you take about it that way, my understanding is that with the Assassin's Creed, because obviously I've said about playing Origins, the fact of I'm obviously if you've been watching my side of things, I'm playing as Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
I could have played as Demos,
Is it
whatever is
Like Alexios.
Alexos, he then became obviously Demos depending on your
God.
character choice at the start of the
God,
game.
Mr. Brown Bread, if ever there is one. He's such a bland character. Sorry, I can't help myself. Whenever someone into Alexios, I start feeling myself going. Yeah.
But yeah, you take it from the point of view of actually they're the same character shots for the whole thing, regardless of who you choose, apart from the fact of it's either Cassandra or Alexios in those shots, as far as I'm aware.
But actually, if to quickly kind of to contest that, they're actually very different characters, and their scenes do change. And apparently, and the common consensus, and what I agree from seeing scenes, is that is it Alexandria or no Alexia? Because there's Alexia and then Alexios, I believe, isn't it?
No,
Cassandra. That was it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because Cassandra is written.
Alexia is the female version of Alex.
Yes. She's written and acted better than Alexios. And there was this whole thing about how originally she was just going to be the character, but they threw Alexios in as an option, which
Soft.
yeah, because there was no faith in a female-only character, which is completely ridiculous. Assertion.
You take that. You take that and you put it to the film universe, and you think, Catwoman having her own film, or say Captain Marvel, especially Captain Marvel. You think of all the male-fronted, films since the start of the Marvel universe on screen.
It is
everything that's
stupid.
going on, giving one to Captain Marvel and kind of like thinking it won't stand on its own merit. Yeah,
it is silly.
Because probably quite a few people who are going to watch it are either people who've, say, like I know yourself, Ebak, with the reading all the comics and stuff like that. So you already know the backstory of Captain Marvel and understand exactly what's going on, or you kind of one of those who goes to watch things because it's a Marvel movie, and what happens. And say from being a 90s kid, I did appreciate the blockbuster stuff at the start of Captain Marvel.
But that was nice.
The key issue is the game industry has an issue with female protagonists, which it really shouldn't do. And I know that there's this whole thing because I can see why you'd want to give a choice in gender. The issue is it's not an RPG.
Yeah,
you're not creating the character. I think if you want a well-written character, write the character, but then that's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
The only game that's really done a good job of having a good kind of can be any gender is Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, generic RPG games like I say generic RPGs, Fallout New Vegas and Fallout. Doesn't matter what gender you are really, because you're role playing. You create the character.
Yeah, you create
embody
yourself.
the character with life. Yeah,
you either create the character yourself that you let the player play, or you create a blank slate for them to fill in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's an argument made that having a defined character with history and such is more interesting. And I think there's an argument for both. But the thing is, it's very difficult fine line to tread. And I'd say, yeah. I mean, true. I agree, Bear, that it may have RPG mechanics, but I think it has got a planned story. It has got a very well-written story that is focused on having important plot beats that character hits at those important moments. I mean, I wouldn't jump into The Witcher and expect to have a female or create a character option because no, Geralt is his own defined character, and as he should be. Because yes, you can be a bit more harsher or a bit nicer as Geralt, but that's really all the control you have. A bit like Shepard, how you can define which Shepard you play as and which Shepard is you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Lemming.
I was just going to make an aside into mentioning that the idea that a female character can't hold up a show or movie or game on their own is also quite prevalent in the world of anime, something I'm quite deeply into, to the point where in the mid-90s, Tomino, the man who created most of Gundam, had the idea for a series with a female protagonist. And the publisher went, no, we can't do that. female protagonist, no way, no way. And that series turned out to be one of the most popular Gundam series out there, called Turn A Gundam, which is set in the far future after, like, society as we know it has been completely wiped out and then restarted again. So what he did, in quite a hilarious side story, is he went, okay, I'll make a male main character. He then made them as androgynous as possible, hired a very feminine male voice actor, and made the character take as many hits to the crotch as possible.
Nice.
Sorry, that's like the biggest fuck you, really, to Suits telling you what you can and can't do.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
I only got halfway through the series because it was never dubbed, unfortunately. I have trouble keeping up with subtitles. But it was a very good series, very well regarded by the community, and Laurent Lehak, the character, is vastly beloved by the community as a result.
I mean, there are clearly characters that do very well. It doesn't matter what gender they are. Like Lara Croft, okay, yes, in the other games, very heavily sexualized. I completely admit that. I mean, come on. She's in her first ever level. She's in the Himalayas in Daisy Dukes and a tank top. You know, it's yeah.
Or if you're gonna go that far, the Lara Croft movies.
Well, yeah. But then yeah, that was kind of that bred on from that though. So whereas her look in the reboots are actually quite nice, because I think they did say how, you know, they actually made a point of pointing out how her breast size is apparently normal, which is like, yeah, you think? I look at that and think, I look at that and think, well, yeah, she looks just like a normal person, which is how she should be. You know, there are niches for very special characters. There are niches for an everyday character, and to be fair, you know, Uncharted shows that you can have the treasure hunter genre in both either male and female and both be very successful. But the thing is, they are their own different characters. Very, very different characters. People always say Uncharted is just a male Lara Croft. No, Nathan Drake is a very different character from Lara. He's, well, he's shall we say he's smarmy, and Lara can be smarmy, but also she's I think psychotic is the word I would kind of use, but not in like the bad way, but like she's a driven person.
Yeah. I mean, psychopathy is mainly gauged by a lack of empathy.
Yes.
Well, no, it's not that. It's the fact that if she sets her mind to something, she will not let anything stop her.
Oh yeah, she's completely driven.
Yeah, there's a nice scene where she believes one of the main characters, who is not a love interest, but just her best friend, is supposedly killed, and she just goes completely batshit crazy, and it's like, right, you're all going to die now, effectively, and with no question about her own safety. And it's one of the first points in the game where the enemy's like, oh shit, you know, and are actually running from her. And that was a great kind of scene, a very powerful scene. I've never seen Nathan Drake do that, but yeah, what a great scene. I love. Oh god, I want to play some Tomb Raider. Although Shadow of the Tomb Raider,
It does bear noting that I still need to actually play the reboot Tomb Raider game.
You should. It's really good.
I know, but it's getting to it. At least within a couple of weeks, I will have a PC that I can think of as not just run it, because my current PC can run it, but can run it with everything.
I'm buying you Tomb Raider, and you're streaming it.
I think I already have it.
Okay.
But I haven't installed it and played it. But yeah, that's on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wait until you get given that as a people's choice.
Right.
Were you going to say something, or?
I was just going to say, is there anyone else people want to bring up on the topic of remakes in general?
I wasn't finished with the Mass Effect shit.
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say before we branched off. I think about the butt shots. People complain about, oh, taking it away. Oh, the pulling the old
Cry me a
oh,
fucking river.
SJW nonsense. Rah. It's just like, no, listen, because butt shots are okay in an appropriate context. Because I romanced Kane Nelenko, and there is a particular physical feature of his that the games like to, especially in 3, like to accentuate. But the thing
You mean
about
his
that,
really big feet?
I think his feet are normal. But but no, the thing about, because there is a scene that can only be seen if you are a femshep who have faithfully romanced him. Like, you didn't romance anybody in Mass Effect 2 at all. Like, didn't even look twice at them. And when he joins the Normandy, he'll turn around and walk towards the ship, and then the camera switches down just to show his backside for like 3
The thing
seconds.
is that
But yeah,
that has
but
context.
exactly, because you're still romancing him. You can't lock his romance in at the same time. But there's context to that scene, and then later on in the Geth Dreadnought, I think it is, yeah, where you go into the cannon, you have the cannon run, and if he's in your squad, I think the camera shows his entire back, his entire back, and of course it's showing off features, sort of thing. But at the same, but that's the thing. Like, those butt shots are fine. We
No
don't.
context. Yeah.
They either have context or it's just like a kind of thing.
They're not thrown in for like, hey, tits and ass kind of moments.
But
They're
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk to the chat here for a moment and say, if you were one of the people incredibly disappointed by the removal of the view of butts at certain points in Mass Effect, go to Google. There's loads of it.
Yeah. Or you can play either a soldier or I think it's a infiltrator. Get a fucking sniper rifle, and then you can perv on your shot.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Goddamn, like.
or just play the originals. You know, they're out
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, they're
where I was
available.
going with it.
Yeah, it's not like look, it's not. I like some titillation as well. I mean,
Who doesn't?
yeah, I mean, you guys have put up with me going.
We are all
I'm
but
not
human.
I'm not shy when I see a woman that I like, sort of thing.
Oh, while girls going, mm-hmm. and the shit.
Yeah. So it's not like we don't like the titillation. It's just like, can we have it at the more appropriate moments? Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it's
like not-
context and place.
Like, not when someone's opening up about a deep emotional and traumatic thing about their parents. Maybe sex. Maybe when you're getting sexy or getting it on with your loved one. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Also, both sides. Can we have it both genders, please? Also non-binary. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm done
yeah.
now.
That's discussion for another day. Is sexuality in video games in terms of characters, because
Oh yes,
we had to talk about that, but I think it's good to kind of go on that talk another day. So let's move on to keeping on to current events. I kind of want to wrap up events within the next kind of 10 minutes, but we've got gaming patents. Let's quickly touch on this. Gaming patents. Shadow.
Yay!
Me again?
Yeah. Well, you're the one that brought this up.
Oh well, I think you guys can lead as well. But basically, Warner Brothers decided, hey, let's ruin everybody's day and patent the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor. Hey,
Why?
and because they're dicks and they hate fun. They just literally hate fun.
Yeah, so people may be kind of questioning why this is deadly, because the gaming industry doesn't really patent kind of mechanics in games. They patent technology, they do, because that's how technology tends to work. But they don't patent mechanics, and there's a good reason for that. One, it's because most of the time it's been done before. There's quite a famous patent back in the day in the fourth generation. I want to say it was during the era of the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Nintendo wanted to change the camera on a driving game, and they couldn't, because Sega had patented the ability to change the camera in a driving game. So you could move.
Is stupid.
Because let's base it on Sega's point of view on this subject. They were making a lot of money from arcade racing games.
Arcades, yeah.
That was their niche.
That was their niche. Now, if that patent had been allowed to stand, you would not be able to change the camera in video games effectively. You know,
Obviously, it didn't stand.
Didn't stand, yeah. Because that was in the 2D era when the camera wasn't really a big deal. The 3D era, camera kind of became a big deal. You know, now the reason
It'd be like me saying, Ebak, try and play the Hitman where you can't change your camera.
Yeah.
I dare you.
Yeah, I know. There's a reason why the right stick pretty much is just the camera in most games these days.
Yes.
You know, it's just convenient. People do it all the time. Go back to play a game where you can't move the camera with the right stick. You will have a rough time of it. I swear to you.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1, the original. So yeah, thankfully, a little game called the Star Wars Arcade game came out prior on the NES about 10 years before, and Sony and I think it was Sega, Sony and Nintendo banded together to make sure that Sega's patent was broken, and effectively said, hey, this game had it before, so effectively they can't patent it because it's not their original idea.
Yeah.
That broke it, and then suddenly all games can now have cameras, changes, and things. That's well and
For
great.
all!
For all. It's available for anyone to use.
Could you imagine if somebody somehow managed to get the person who invented the first-person shooter genre patented the first-person shooter?
Yep.
We wouldn't have Doom.
No Doom.
No Call of Duty. None of the massive shooters that because the first-person shooter is a massive genre now.
Mm-hmm.
There is a cornucopia of different things. Borderlands.
Mm-hmm. Now, I can hear the tweets and the typing going on in front of me right now. And I'm gonna head it off. They are perfectly within their legal rights to do so.
Yes.
Doesn't make it right.
Doesn't make it right.
Legal right does not mean moral right.
Yeah, games have constantly, through generations, stolen ideas. I do say the word stolen because they
progression through iteration.
Progression through iteration. Games iterate and improve. Sometimes a game will have an idea that's not fully realized, and the game will take it and make something of it.
Yeah.
And I can't really think of something off the top of my head instantly that does that, but iteration is what works. You iterate on what works, and you just either get rid of. Actually, no, perfect example. It is in the Hitman series, but the Hitman series, in Hitman Absolution, anyone in the costume that you're wearing could rumble you. They could see that you don't belong. It was a terrible mechanic. They could have disposed it, but they actually improved it for the next game and made enforcers, and it actually led to a better game experience. And yes, of course, that's keeping within the same series, so it doesn't really count. But games learn from each other, and the Nemesis system being patented is a big problem because now it means only Warner Brothers can use that system, meaning it will die.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to get used in anything but a Shadow and Mordor game. I don't see one of those coming out anytime soon. I don't see. Maybe they do it in a Batman game. Maybe.
And knowing.
But why? It would be in the context of a Batman game. The Nemesis system wouldn't bloomin' work because he already has a specific rogue gallery of villains that have got 4 decades. Well, how long's Batman been around for? 8 decades worth of background behind them.
I could say you could probably have henchmen and different levels of henchmen and things like that. But I get what you're saying. I'm just making a point that by patenting it,
nobody else can use it.
No one else can use it. So basically, only they can use it, which means it won't get used because there's no other game that they're making that really could use it.
Yep.
It's gonna die. It's gonna wither on the vine.
Yeah. This amazing system.
It's an amazing system.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. Oh, sorry, Dorkter, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, isn't there a time and point when patents become null and void after a certain amount of time, or was that me thinking of some other
but
copyright laws?
Isn't that trademark?
I think trademark is somebody uses something a couple of as many times as possible that it becomes, if you don't fight it, it becomes null and void. But patents take time before they come out. And this is exactly what happened with mini games on loading screens, because I think it was
Konami.
Namco that did it.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Namco.
Yeah. And by the time the patented, and because they could only do it, and they didn't give a shit in actually working with that patent, because they've got it, and that's all that matters to them. Nobody can iterate on it, and nobody could touch it, so nobody did anything. So it just died, and we've had no. And with all the long loading screens that we've had nothing to do. And now with the era of SSDs, with loading times in like seconds and a couple of minutes rather than what we used to have, it's what's the point? What's the point of having a mini game you don't even have the time to play?
And
Yeah,
it
exactly.
still doesn't help Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, actually, you say that. FIFA does tend to, but say you are right now with the loading screens on that. Yeah, like it used to take like say a minute or two. It's like, oh, you can do this thing in the meantime.
Well, that's the thing
But
is technically that's
when
not
it loads in like 5 seconds, you can.
because that's technically the game with the thing loading in the background. It's not like a separate mini game that you play in. It's a confusing, very specific pattern, but it is there. And I know because I've played a Namco game which has it ages back, and that had like a whole game on its loading screen and on the press start screen even. But yeah, it's different. The pattern states if that's a mini game, that's a different from the main game. So that's why FIFA could get around it. FIFA does the main game as its mini game, but
Okay, got you.
yeah, that's basically the thing. Is if it was like for you could play a game of cricket or something, then it'd be different because it's a different game entirely. But
Yeah.
no, and of
And
course,
that's why. Sorry.
it's just such a big problem. I
It
do
is,
agree.
yeah. Patenting game mechanics is ridiculous, and it stunts the industry as a whole. It stunts the passion that people have for video games as a whole, because it won't move on, and it won't progress, and it won't get better because it stagnates, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
And on a lighter note, Weird FTW in the chat, hello Weird, says, a real ShadowPhoenixRider, my oh my. So,
Hi.
yeah, this is what she actually looks like. Isn't she great?
Yeah. I'm small. As you were saying, Ebak, you were looking for games that have iterated on mechanics. I was thinking, wow, because that's how it stayed ahead of the MMO pack for so long. It's looked at what its competitors were doing and went, oh, that's a good idea. I like that. I like that. Like when I can't remember which game did it properly, but probably Guild Wars actually. But Guild Wars was like, well, we've got these armor sets that you can have, but if you want to customize them, you can dye them different colors, kind of thing. And the Old Republic was like, oh yeah, we'll have that. We'll have that. We'll put free to play mechanics on it. But WoW was like, we can't exactly do that. We can't exactly do the dyeing of armor thing because of the way we build the armor itself. But what we can do is allow players to they call it transmog. Basically, you have your base armor set that you're getting stats from, but what you could do is you have a collection of armors that you've picked up throughout the game, and what you can do is go to this specific sort of, I call them a vendor because it's easiest for me, but you go to that vendor and you change the appearance of that armor into the one you want, kind of thing. So you've got a completely different appearance to what the armor you actually have and are getting stats from, which is great because it's a role playing game.
Yeah.
And people want to look good, kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're going to be on to the final news topic before we kind of get into kind of other topics for the night, which is a bit more of an up topic for this evening.
Yay!
Game Blast is happening this week.
Yeah, considering Weird is now in the chat.
Yeah, appropriate that Weird is now in the chat, and
Perfect
we're now going to talk
timing.
about Game Blast. Perfect timing. So Game Blast is happening this week. Really excited. Thank you very much, Bear, for putting out Game Blast in the chat. We're raising money for Game Blast with my friends. Weird FW's in the chat, also doing it with Scarfulu, who is streaming right now, and we'll be doing, and later on, Weird will be doing a draw for his to one of his Tombola awards in advance. And then, of course, we got Richardo, who's streaming during the day. As this Friday, Friday through to Sunday, it's Game Blast. We'll try and raise £1,000. We're up to 650 last time I checked. We've done the draw already. Nice. I went to £650 last time I checked. And of
Yes.
course, there are a multitude of rewards. You get reward every £50. Effectively, there's a bunch of things that we'll be doing, and we'll be drawing out of a pit. And of course, every £250, there's a big reward, which all of us will be doing. So, for example, for my 750, I'm doing Resident Evil 7 in VR. Scaring myself shitless on that. Weir's doing some Minecraft stuff. Scarfulu's doing an Indiana Jones series retrospective on The Last Crusade and also the Fate of Atlantis, the two point-and-click adventure games from the Indiana Jones series. Great games, by the way. And Richardo is doing a Mario Kart 48 race, kind of Grand Prix, if you will. Which can be amazing. And it's
Also,
Minecraft
doing
series
it in cosplay as well.
and cosplay. He's doing I think it's 2 weeks of the cosplay. And of course, if you raise £1,000, we got even more awards. You can see it all by going to Weird FTW's channel. There's also the Game Blast page down here in my chat. So yes, definitely check out that, and please donate. We've got some things going on. There's a schedule. All of us will be streaming each and every day, and there'll be a multi-blast event happening from 6:30 p.m. till 9:30, and then I immediately take over afterwards. So it's going to be a fun, frolicking weekend for all, and it's for a good cause, raising money for Special Effect, who whole idea is about making gaming accessible for those with disabilities. I mean, as horrible as to talk about, people, unfortunately do lose the use of some of their limbs and their bodies, and they can't unfortunately continue gaming, and without the help of people from Special Effect. And as someone who is disabled, thankfully, it's just my ear. Like this headset side of the headset does nothing for me. I'm very lucky in that I can still play. Sure, an enemy might get the drop on me every now and then, but I'm very lucky in that respect. So I think it's for a very good cause. Please do just chuck a couple of quid if you can. And if any of you donate directly to me and say that it's for Special Effect, because you can't donate to Special Effect, I'll do that as well. But yes, the actual donation link is down there in my chat. Go and get some money for a good cause.
And everybody in my
down.
chat, go there and do it.
Yeah.
Go do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. No, when you were saying about disabled, I was thinking one of our fellow comrades, Wolsey's.
yes,
Yes, of course.
perfect example. Wolsey's himself. He unfortunately lost the use of his lower body, and he tends to game. I mean, thankfully it means he can still game, but it does make it is a challenge for him. So yeah, a clear example.
Yeah, because he uses voice commands whenever we play squadrons with him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for a good cause.
I'm also going to be honest as well. If I had that money spare, Elliot, I would so make that Resident Evil stream happen.
Well, it's
As
only
much as I love you, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. Same here.
It's only £100 away. Plus, also, I'm someone who I tend to not like it when people say play this horror game. Like, for example, if someone says play FNAF, I'm like, nah, fuck off. But I actually don't mind Resident Evil. I can stick it as a series, so I don't mind putting it in the pot as a series. Although I've played it before, it's going to be a bit more bricklaying in VR. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dorkter, Shadow, can we afford £33 each?
I need to get.
No.
I'm getting paid on Thursday.
I'm kidding. I can't afford it after what I've just bought. But
yeah, no, I've already spent a lot.
But I've got my fingers crossed you reach those goals.
Yes, Doctor.
As much as I could throw him was to get us to the 650 mark.
Yeah,
that was my donation that did that. So
I'll also remind people, if you're watching my show, my pick yesterday was my audience get to decide what I play. On my Twitter, there is a actual pinned tweet which you guys can check out and put your suggestions what I should play in there. I know that Lemming. Did you put it Lemming, or was it Burr who put a suggestion in? I think it was Burr who put the suggestion in.
Yes,
yeah. Burr suggested I play one of the Zero Escape series, 9 doors, 9 people, 9 keys, whatever it is. And I've actually had my eye on that. So it's, there's one suggestion in there. So right now, by default, that's the one. But no, should have some more suggestions in there.
I was thinking about suggestions last night, and then of course I fell asleep and they all disappeared.
would you like to know what Scarf drew? No. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch the reveal later myself, and I'll definitely enjoy that. But that's Game Blast. We got about half an hour on the clock. We've got a lot of potential topics to discuss. Do we want to delve into something like JK, or do we want to go into...
Jamie's apparently clipped it, so actually you don't
Fantastic.
necessarily have to watch the full stream. He's already clipped it. Good boy, Jamie.
Fantastic.
Nice.
I mean, there are a variety of topics we can talk about. Preservations of games, always online games. We can have me bitch about J.K. Rowling a bit.
Do it.
Yeah,
Do the bitch.
let's
Go
bitch
on,
about
King.
somebody who deserves it.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
on, King.
J.K. fucking Rowling. So I've actually had a long discussion about... Well, not several months ago, I had a talk with James, who's in the chat, actually, about some concerns I had about because I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, but I do love the series. I do love the things around it. But as you know, J.K. Rowling has not been pretty progressive with her thoughts.
She's been a bit of a bitch.
You said it.
You said, yeah.
I'm allowed to say it. I'm a woman. I'm allowed to say it.
That's what I'm meaning.
Yeah, and
I give you all the bitch card.
so yeah, and it's kind of led to this interesting little war between the fandom and the creator, which is not unlike... I mean, every time the fandom disagrees with creators all the time, but usually it's about the actual product. At
Yeah.
times, it's about, oh, I don't like it. You change this. Don't like you change that. We're now talking about a battle of ideologies, and that is where things get very difficult, because there's a game coming out called Hogwarts Legacy. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it. It's it's a game which I'm actually really interested in, like really interested in. I love the idea of the game, and it harkens back to the PS2 era games where you could explore Hogwarts and do all that fun stuff. But by buying it, are you supporting J.K. Rowling? And James and I had a long talk about it, and I've come to the consensus that it's not. It's a very nuanced and complex situation, and I've been told that I should just not support it. That I'm wrong for even buying it or even contemplating the idea of buying it. And I have the idea of I want to support the developers, and it's not their fault. And I know there's an argument to be made that, well, yeah, they get paid anyway, but it's not an easy scenario. And all I can do is make the choice because everyone has their own, what I call the moral event horizon, where it's the point where you're willing to compromise for your views. Some people is much more stretched out. They can, once something compromised, no, that's it. You can't. It's nope. It's a plain and simple. Me, I'm more in the direction of I'm gonna buy this. I like the look of the game. I want to support the developers, but me buying it doesn't support her. And there are some people who've called me out for wanting to buy it and how I'm an awful person for doing so. And I think that's a bit toxic. That's a bit wrong. It kind of stops once it goes past yourself. I can only make the choice for me. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't buy it. That's your own decision to make. You have your own ideas of how far you're willing to take your ideology. I do not support her views. I do not agree with her views. I think her views, while I can understand that she's coming from someone who's been abused by men, and I mean like actual having some abuse, I still think that she shouldn't let that cloud her judgment over what should be trans rights. And it's not an easy scenario to talk about. It's even right now, it's hard to kind of really get my words out and wrap my head around in a way that makes sense. If you understand all that, everyone.
Yeah, you're struggling to try and find the words to properly convey what you feel.
Yeah,
in a way.
the only way I could say is that I don't like her views, and there's a lot of discussion about how far do people go for all this. Because I mean, you dig hard enough in cupboards, you're gonna find some skeletons, no matter who it is.
Without a doubt. I mean, everybody's had to compromise for something they've enjoyed.
I mean, fuck. Fuck, David, FIFA.
Yeah, man. What's that
Yeah.
about?
All I'm gonna say is I play it, yes, but I'm not one that the try hard and being careful how I phrase this. It's kind of one of those things you've got to kind of be careful though, because so I know we have games that you enjoy that I would never touch. The barge pole,
No, it's
because
more.
it doesn't say fit my niche, for example, for a
No,
start.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how FIFA
Yeah.
itself is not a great company. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, their
In terms of
publisher is-
in how they're run, and they're shady with their money and so on and so forth. I'm talking more like the background aspect.
Yeah, because I was going to say like the whole loot crate things.
Well, yeah, that's also a factor, but more to do with the actual fact that FIFA itself is shady as fuck. As a business, as a company, yet the game is called FIFA. It is, and it is perpetuating and even supporting them. Not saying, but that doesn't say you agree with what FIFA do.
No, there's a lot of stuff that's going in and around the background. You can say that anything that's got a game that's based on something in real life, like it's to say it's the political aspect and stuff in the background, is it more than anything else, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You had no idea about it, and you don't really much. It's not your business, really. So yeah, you still play the games, you still enjoy them, and that's your right to do so.
Yeah. Let's say it's a different thing to.
Yeah,
I think from what you're saying,
it's a very different comparison.
But and then criticizing somebody for something like that. I'm trying to make sure, because I'm trying to make sure I get the right end of the stick here, because sometimes I can misinterpret things slightly the wrong way. But the somebody who's criticizing somebody for something that they believe in, without potentially a counter viewpoint, but then say like accepting the reason why they feel that way about something is, it's still one of those things. It's sort of like not a dumb thing, is it really? You could look back to any point in history where kind of, there's always been that kind of like thing where you have people's disagreements with things. A religion comes back into mind again.
Yeah.
Like the Crusades, for example, that was basically all about that.
I mean, when it comes down to things like this, I mean, I think also Shadow, you've got the Blizzard angle as well.
Yeah, when they started off all that nonsense about Hong Kong and banning Blitzchung and the two streamers as well, and of course at that moment I was just like, right, no, I can't do this. I can't play WoW. I can't do this. But when you sort of stand back and look at all the hands that Activision Blizzard have in every part, it's just like, well, it's impossible. I cannot boycott this company, because if I do so, I cut myself off so badly that
doesn't mean you can't be vocal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can still say, yo, guys are pieces of shit for doing this.
Yeah.
But I've got to enjoy my life. I'm living in this capitalist hellscape. I might as well enjoy myself while I'm here.
Yeah.
And maybe if I yell at them enough and do other actions that isn't like other more, I hate to say more productive actions, but in a way, yes, maybe we can get some change from that angle rather than just not buying a game that.
Here's the way I look at it. She's shit. She has terrible views, and it's awful that the Potter community has to go through all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in 60 years, it won't matter, because she'll be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must always be a disconnect between the artist and the art.
Yeah. She will be dead, and what will happen is people will say, she had these terrible fucking views about trans people. I don't know what the hell was going on there, but she's dead now, and now there are trans people in Harry Potter. Get fucked.
That's the thing. She'll be dead, and there'll still be trans people around the world, and it'll be more or less accepted by that point. I would imagine.
I bloody
And
hope
at that
so.
point, she then loses control of the property, and it goes to her estate. Sure, the estate can do whatever the fuck they want, but then the fans don't have to worry about anything about. So again, it then ends the whole issue because she won't be able to espouse her awful views continuously. Because she's dead.
Yep.
You know, it's like,
You're running out of time, bitch.
yeah.
You can run away from the wheel of time as fast as you possibly can, but eventually it will crush you. You either step out of its way or it crushes you underfoot.
Best perfect example in the chat. H.P. Lovecraft. He had horribly racist views.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, like I was saying, if it wasn't for my ability to disconnect between the artist and the art, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the Cthulhu mythos because he was a racist fuck.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to enjoy half the bands I like. Because, they're led by assholes.
At some points, fans reclaim the work eventually in some way. It just takes time, and usually it requires the artist to die. And unfortunately, JK she's in her 50s, isn't she?
Check.
Pretty sure she's in her 50s, so she's halfway there. So yeah, I mean, it's cruel to say, but that is
55.
That is cruel to say, but that's what it all comes down to in the end. Is that she's got horrible views, but they can only last as long as she's alive.
Yeah. Your views only last as long as you do.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate. The way I look at it is that it may be fucked up right now, but eventually it will all sort of solve.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that they're losing a battle. They're losing the war anyway because slowly but surely they can do what they want here, and it's terrible what's happening to trans people with the laws and such here. But they will But this always sort of happens. This starts. It's horrible to say, but this always starts to happen when the tide is just about to turn in a more favourable way for the minority. This is in a way, it's the last gasps of people going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Kind of thing.
Like, we don't like this.
In the 80s in Thatcher's era, it was homosexuality that was it was a law. There was a law in place that basically stopped the promotion of homosexuality in any kind of educational format, and in fact, you couldn't promote it at all. And then, of course, 20 years later, it's now acceptable to be gay.
Yeah.
It might take 20 or 30 years.
Yeah,
it might take 20 or 30 years, but eventually, trans people have rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to say it's always darkest before dawn, because
all I can say on the subject though is
sorry,
we cannot give up though.
Nope.
Even though we're in the darkest before the dawn bit and things will get better from here, they won't if we don't try.
Yeah, we must. The least we could do is accelerate the progress, sort of thing.
Yes.
We need to keep up.
When you're saying that just for me, the first thing that came to my head is when women were able to vote, and you had all those women who went out and protested against it and tried to make their point, and in some cases losing their lives for it.
Hello, Weird, you all right? We're just putting a lot of exclamation marks in the chat. Sorry, I'm like, Weird never does that. Weird's doing a cheer. Did you get a front page, you bastard?
I don't know.
Wait, donation.
What's going on, Weird?
The last.
If you said that might be a lot.
Yo, what? Tell us. Stop leaving us on tenterhooks.
Give us your words, Weird.
You just found out what. I'm going onto the Weird Blast running page. I'm going onto the Weird Blast page right now.
Yo!
Holy shit!
No, you're doing it.
We did it.
We're doing it.
The Commandant's podcast, the best there is. Thane Krios. It's £100.
Wow.
Oh, there we go. I guess I'm streaming Resident Evil 7.
We love you too.
In VR.
Honestly, we love you.
Wow.
Fantastic. And also £100. Thank you so much.
He said sarcastically.
I mean it. Thank you. No.
Yeah,
no,
Genuinely.
genuinely, I'm not, I don't mind. I chose to. I play Resident Evil 7.
Fair
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. £100 taking out 150 pounds. Like,
Yeah,
it's
no.
such a good thing to take us to
Everyone
that
here is
goal.
legitimately touched by that.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
100 quid, man. Seriously.
That is
We're
huge.
now a lot closer towards the next goal, which is the 1,000. And if we break 1,000, that is going to be amazing, because that was Weird's goal, and it's been his dream to break 1,000. Not saying donate again. I mean, if you want to donate again, feel free. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for that £100. It's very much appreciated. Thank you to everyone who's donated thus far to get to this
Yeah.
point.
You're all awesome.
Mm.
You're awesome. We love you.
Do we want to move it to another
I was gonna say,
topic
sorry,
after this?
I was gonna say the minor thing as well is actually also means just another draw on the raffle as well.
No, because it's every 250 is the big reward. So
Ah,
effectively,
No,
the next.
the small one is the 50,
Yes,
which
the
you have
50,
one
yeah.
for 700.
You're right. Yeah, that's the 51. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Ignore me. Right. I think we've kind of gone into the whole idea of, okay, it's awful what she does.
Oh, I just wanted to sort of point out that people can have different sort of some people can disconnect from shitty people a lot easier than other
Than others.
people.
Some people
But
can.
that
Some people can't.
doesn't mean the people who can disconnect are bad people, and the people who can't disconnect are
No.
good people.
Mm.
That's not, because I see a lot of connections that happen like, oh, you can just separate this from this, so you must be an awful person. It's like, no, because some people can just do that. Like, I can watch a shitty movie because I can just turn my brain off and just be like, haha, yes,
When I
people
watch
fall over.
when I watch Mandalorian, I don't care that Gina Carano is in it. To be fair, her being fired doesn't bother me, but
Yeah,
No.
it clearly bothered other people, but that's fine.
yeah, it bothers me, but I don't
Yeah.
watch the show. But
Yeah,
the
it
thing
bothers
is,
you.
the thing is, knowing her and knowing what she said, because I kind of like the character from a distance. So I was like, oh yeah, it's a badass woman, and I kind of dig that. And then to hear what she was saying, like,
oh, now
Thing
she's
is-
ruined it.
Character's
Yeah.
great. Actress is awful.
So
mhm.
so have they said they're going to be recasting the character,
We don't know.
or be killing the character and potentially bringing in somebody
No
else
idea yet.
to be
We no
the
idea.
Mandalorians?
We-
Okay.
we don't have no idea. It's quite recent news. Let's kind of move on. But I do
Yeah.
agree with you, Shadow. I think the key thing to take away of this is that it stops at you. If you see someone who's buying that and you don't agree with it because it, tangentially that might support the person, doesn't mean they're doing it because they support the person. It's because they believe in that product and they have their own different moral code.
Yes.
That doesn't make them bad people per se. And I think that's the key thing to take away, is that it always stops with you. Like I've always believed, and I said this on one of episode of Weirderlands one time. I can't stop you from disliking me because I'm gay. If that's the case, well, I'm in a gay relationship. I'm bi, but I'm in a gay relationship, so I'm gay.
You're there.
Details.
Yes.
The key thing is, if you don't like me because of that, okay, I don't like the fact that you're prejudiced, but I can't thought police you and say that you're wrong. It'd be wrong. It'd be wrong of me to then do that. It only becomes wrong when you actually actively start to oppress me because of that.
Yeah.
Once it goes beyond you, and that's the key thing, is that I'm buying it because I like the look of the game and I want to enjoy the game and I want to enjoy the universe. Doesn't mean I support her views. If you disagree with that, that's entirely your right to do so.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
are allowed to try and convince people with arguments and stuff like that. You are allowed, but no further.
Yeah. The Will Wheaton rule still applies. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if I have had heated discussion with people who criticize the fact that I still play Escape from Tarkov, despite the fact that the developer has openly admitted to basically DMCA striking somebody's YouTube channel because they were spreading misinformation. They have apologized. Yeah. They were basically trying to defend themselves in the worst way possible. I will not defend them because they did that. That's a horrendous thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm still going to play this game because I've bought it and I enjoy it. And they have apologized since then. You can leave it alone now.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's also a thing. Sorry, Ebak.
No, I think you're going to say something that actually go on, Shadow.
I was just going to say there does. Okay, we need to call people out when they do bad things, but the problem with cancel culture, I'm just going to call it that, and just discourse on the online today is basically there is no room for people to learn
Or
and
learn.
change, because you'll have people drawing stuff up from like 10, 15, even like 5 years ago, and just be like, hey, look at this shitty thing that somebody did.
I mean, look at what happened to James Gunn.
James Gunn.
Exactly. And he says, well, I'm sorry, I said a shitty thing, and I've learned, I've changed, but some people will just hold on to that and be like, no, you're terrible forever. And it's like, what does this do? What does this do for us? It doesn't.
Yeah.
All it does is entrench people in these bad ways, when really we should be wanting them to change.
Criminals are criminals because we don't allow them the benefit of the fact that they have changed a lot of the times.
Yes.
People, there are repeat offenders, sure, but that's the thing, is that it goes into an entirely different topic. But I'm a big believer of rehabilitation and giving
Same here.
criminals the chance, because if you restrict someone on the jobs they can get because they're a criminal, they will always just be a criminal, because
Exactly.
they can never get out of that hole. They can never
Why
prove.
why be different?
Why
Society
try?
really hates me, so
Why try to be a good person if society is just continuously going to say you're a bad person?
exactly.
And yes,
I might as well be the thing that society hates.
don't get me wrong, there are different levels. Like, for example, if someone came to me and said, "Oh, this guy stole a loaf of bread and this guy killed someone," I'd be like, "Do you know what? Maybe one should be in prison a bit longer than the other."
Yeah, exactly.
It's there are nuance. There's nuance in life. There's never a one rule fits all solution, and there's always going to be nuance to any situation, circumstances. But
Yeah.
and that's the key thing, is that life is complicated.
Life
And
is complicated and shit, and all shades of grey. We hate it.
yeah, it's
But we're
It's
still
capitalist.
here.
But we're still here. Let's move on to a more kind of personal topic. Controller preferences. This is one that Dorkter wanted to bring up, so I'm hoping that Dorkter's got anything to kind of roll with it. And I think, given that we talked about special effects making some
yes.
specialized controllers, I thought it was a nice kind of topic for us to discuss towards the
And
end.
it's positive.
And it's positive.
Yeah.
So let's go into it.
I think this to say it was actually like partly covered on our squadron stuff last week. Is the fact of like we're all playing squadrons through like either A, different consoles, or B, different controller setups. So obviously there could be a kind of preference to that, but I think I was sort of actually more linking it on potentially to where obviously say my introduction was, with like the fact of like how I've progressed from keyboard. It's kind of ironic when I went back to playing squadrons at the beginning. I was like, I can't play with a keyboard, but then like younger me was like, I can't play with anything else other than a keyboard. So
It's hilarious.
it's kind of those. Yeah, it's kind of like weird. It's gone sort of full circle. Full circle, the other way. But it's kind of like, for me, obviously, say I'm more. Obviously, say that the sort of middle part of my gaming sort of life has been, console. So I think that's kind of where. See, obviously, I've hit it. Whereas the fact of, if I was a PC player through and through, and somebody chucked a controller in my hands, I'd be like, "What is this?" So it's say definitely something that's like, it's definitely think it was worthwhile sort of like discussing. Is kind of like preferences. Because I know obviously say with Shadow, your PC, your PC with a controller and mouse, but that's because also keyboard and mouse. But I suppose that's probably because of say like Warcraft and stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Go on, Shadow.
The thing with me is actually I used to I grew up on keyboard and mouse, but I used to use the arrow keys to move, and I couldn't. I never sort of
rather than WASD.
Yeah, exactly, and I never
WASD.
properly learned WASD until a good. When was it actually? I think it was quite recently when I started. I can't actually remember when I actually started to use WASD. I think it might have been with the Old Republic, or maybe WoW, when I came back from the Old Republic, just because of the way I use my controls. And it's really weird having to sort of change between, like, before then, I would like, I'm never going to use these keys. I'm always going to use the arrow keys because that's what the arrow keys are for, right? But then, of course, after a while, I get used to another control method, and it's just like, well, now I can't go back. And now I'm on Squadrons, as Dorkter says, playing keyboard and mouse, when originally I was going to play the controller, but it was like, you're going to have to learn twin stick control, lady. And I'm like, no.
It's
I'm out.
funny. It's funny that
Yeah.
talk about that because I grew up on PCs quite predominantly throughout most of my life. I've always had a computer, and I've always gamed on my computer as well. Although I have had consoles alongside them. It's only in the last kind of, I'd say, 5 years that I kind of gravitate to like, do you know what? No, I think I will play this on a controller on my computer and not use keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
And it's very weird about how, because you've got so many keys on a keyboard, you know.
Well,
But-
I think. Well, I definitely think that there are pluses, there are positives, and negatives to each
Oh, yes.
control method. I mean, to be honest, I would, for moving into 3D space, I'd always use a controller. To be honest, I'd always go for that first. But like I said, for Squadrons, it said, well, you're going to need to use twin stick control, which I've never learned, and I don't think I ever will. So I immediately, was like, well, go for the PC and luckily enough, the control is quite intuitive on the keyboard because basically what you do is you point where you want to go with the mouse, sort of thing. So pitch and yaw is controlled on the mouse, and whilst your roll and your thrust control is on the WASD, sort of thing. And I've gotten so used to that now I'm starting to move key bindings around so I could be as close as possible to WASD, so I don't have to move my fingers so much when I'm doing that. And you guys do really well on controller, and I mean, Ebak above me uses HOTAS, so
Yeah.
so he's the most into it. But there is an advantage to having a keyboard because I have so many buttons, and what I can do is, because I've watched Lemming stream when he does that way Lemming stream when he does Squadrons, and he has to go through a command wheel to switch shields around and power transfer. But for me, I just need to roll my mouse wheel, or to do, whenever I need to call for help, I just hit a key. I just hit the 7 key, and that's a regroup key, when otherwise other people would have to go into the command wheel, select this, and then, but
Yeah.
you're also trying to fly at the same time, and you might be in a spot of bother. So
Yeah, it's kind of why
Yes,
it's kind of why I wish I had HOTAS on my PC and my PC could run Squadrons, because then I'd do HOTAS with keyboard as kind of auxiliary commands. So
I
yeah.
swear I want a decent HOTAS.
Yeah, I know, right?
The one I've got
I
is it's like £100, but it still feels a bit cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I think maybe one day I would like to set up a camera like above my keyboard, just so you can see what I'm doing when I'm flying, just to see how it all works. But we'll see.
Well, yeah,
if I ever stream the damn thing.
At the end of the day, you use what feels more comfortable to yourself. I mean, I personally, when it comes to what I play with flight games, always a controller. Mostly because the HOTAS I found to be a bit uncomfortable. It's always too big and I can never get the right positioning on it. So I use a controller for most things. But first-person shooters, real-time strategies, all these other games like turn-based, anything else, mouse and keyboard is where I'll go.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because
Lemming will tell you from the time I've played in GTA with him, I'll be driving or using controller, but as soon as we get on foot, I'll switch to mouse and keyboard from aiming.
yeah, same.
Oh yeah, because there is nothing like aiming with a
mouse.
With
a mouse. Yeah,
I mean,
it's just that precision.
They've tried cross-play with first-person shooters before between console and PC, and mouse, and it fails every time because mouse and keyboard just overpowers them.
Yeah, you need to use auto aiming, and
Yeah.
you need to add some auto aiming for the control stick. But as soon as you do that, you need to balance it properly so it matches up to the mouse. You just can't do it.
Yeah, you can't. And they've had full auto aim for the console users, and they still got their wiped the floor by the PC users because you've got that degree of accuracy with the mouse and keyboard that you just can't get with a controller. Now, when I'm flying around in Ace Combat 7, the controller is the best option because that gives me the flight, miniature flight controls in my hand. But when it comes to shooting, mouse and keyboard every time. It's just more comfortable.
Yeah, but in a way that's quite interesting because if you think about it, surely the mouse would also give you that same precision when flying.
Yeah. it really does. If I was going for guns in it, I would go with mouse and keyboard because it's that more accurate. But I just can't get my head around it.
Yeah.
I've tried playing Ace Combat with mouse and keyboard, and I just can't.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I kind of learned. The thing is, I guess you kind of have to learn from a standing start kind of thing, like what I had to do with Squadrons, because it was my first flight sim game.
Oh yeah.
Like well, technically not, because there is a sub game in the Old Republic where you play sort of thing, and I couldn't get my head around that. But playing this properly from a standing start was, I was learning for the first time, and now it's ingrained with me. I've got all the muscle memory.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, it's all there. So I just pick it up remarkably easy. But for you, the muscle memory is in your control sticks.
Yeah, exactly. I've played every Ace Combat game, from the original Air Combat on PS1 all the way up until Ace Combat 7 that came out a couple of years ago. My game of 2019, by the way. Amazing game. But because of that, I've grown to require a controller or HOTAS when I feel the need for flight games. I can't do it with mouse and keyboard. I don't have that ingrained into me.
Yeah, and I presume that I will probably be similar if I play any more flight sim games.
We all have what we're comfortable with at this point.
Yes. Were you going to say something, Ebak?
I was going to say, Dorkter, do you have anything to weigh in on this?
Do you have any preferences?
I think, well, say with me, I'm more of a controller kind of guy. But say when it comes to driving now, it is I have to get the wheel out because it's more realistic to me, more natural. Like I had a weird discussion actually because one of the people that sort of nips into my streams occasionally,
James,
I actually bought myself a rig to get my wheel set up on, and because of the way my desk is set up, the gear shifter the gear stick that I use is on the right hand side of my desk. Now Elliot will know the fact when I'm driving, the gear stick for me is on the left hand side because that's the way the cars are made over here.
Yep.
So when I set it up for my trucking stuff, okay, there's I could put it on a beam on either the left hand side or right hand side, but because my mindset is, I describe it like a box, like you have a so like for example with us, Elliot, we have probably a box in our mind somewhere for X-Wing or whatever, which is like when you play that thing, you take that box and you bring that out, so to speak. Whereas say because I had it always set on the right hand side, when I was setting up the rig, I automatically wanted to put it on the right hand side because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah, that's what you're comfortable with.
Fundamentally, from here, it would be the wrong thing to do because it's on the other side. So.
I have to admit, I've always wanted to do VR with something like Gran Turismo with the wheel and the stick shift because because of course it is all about head tracking movement, and it's basically what Squadrons is. And I think VR is very useful for that stuff, and I think VR is interesting because VR is an entirely different kind of control setup because of the logistics of it all.
I really, really need to get access to PSVR at some point.
Well, even the PSVR is restrictive because, for example, I'll be playing Hitman on Game Blast this Friday. It doesn't use the Move controllers. It uses the DualShock.
Oh.
That's very strange.
Yes, because the DualShock, the camera actually picks up the light bar on the front of the DualShock. But the thing about the Move controls is they don't have analog sticks. And that's the big problem about the PSVR is that it doesn't have analog sticks because how would you move your character? That's why most games, and that's the thing about a PSVR 2, I hope they do a PSVR 2 or a kind of a sequel to that in PS5 because not having an analog stick does restrict your movements in games considerably.
Yeah, start jumping from point to point.
Yeah, which can be very.
Squadrons does when you're not in a cockpit.
Yeah, or have it where you press a button to move forward, and your head turning is what moves you in that particular direction.
No.
Which that gets another thing. So that is the thing. Is I'm actually, and you will actually see me throw you'll see me throw a thonk because that's the thing. You still actually move the arm with 47 using this.
Oh yeah,
because
it's got control tag.
it tracks the movement of the light bar. So I can
Oh.
still throw things, and that's how that works apparently.
Just
But-
don't throw the controller into the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Bonk.
Oh shit.
Best thing about VR, because a lot of it is about I'm gripping this thing, but then you need to be gripping something because you've got a controller. So how do you have it so that when you're not gripping something, you've got it? And I think there's a controller which like it straps around your hand, so you're not actually.
Mm.
It's very weird to think about the logistics of how to play a game in VR, and that's why I don't think VR will ever replace any proper gaming. It
Oh,
will
of
just be
course
like
not,
a subset of game because it's a very specialized kind of control scheme and very different to wrap your head around. In that respect, not saying that VR is a bad thing. I've played some great VR games, but
Mm.
yeah, that is worth thinking about in that respect.
Yeah, VR is never going to replace screen gaming.
Yeah, the thing about
No.
VR is if you want to have that truly immersive experience, you need to sort of get your entire body into the game, and that's just not possible, not with the current technology.
Yeah, which is why the
No.
only thing I want a PSVR for is the specific PlayStation exclusive VR missions for Ace Combat 7. You're in a plane, you're sitting, you're not going anywhere.
Why am I not surprised?
Perfect.
Third, while we get on the subject, third-party controllers. What are our thoughts? Because
There's-
I've had some pretty crap controllers in my life.
Oh yeah,
we've
without
all
a doubt.
we've all had them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
We're at
I
a
don't know
very
if I have.
fair enough. I mean, I definitely had a very bad controller for the PC when I was younger. But
This thing.
what is it?
All
Is
of
that
the-
just
It's just a wired Xbox controller from a third party with built-in fans to put air onto your hands to stop you from sweating and
Oh,
lights
yes.
inside. The only thing is the fans are
Brilliant.
shit. The fans are crap, and the rubber on the actual like analog sticks has completely scraped off. So this is
Yeah.
hard plastic. This is why I never use it anymore.
Yeah, no, I have had one third-party controller, which was a GameCube controller, and that was that was crap.
because I think we've kind of reached an interesting point in gaming where gaming has now become something very, very expensive, where almost like the company's actual things is the cheap option, and you can now get more stuff. For example, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually you might have seen right to that of me. I've got a wall of controllers because
Yeah.
I kind of collect them a little bit.
Yes.
So I've got my my Switch controller here. I've got above them my DualShock 4s, but I also have the 8-bit Do controllers. I'm not sponsored by 8-bit Do whatsoever, but they make some really nice controllers like this beautiful thing here, the SM30
Ooh.
Pro Plus, which
Ooh.
is an SNES style controller with analog sticks, with the grips of a PlayStation controller and triggers.
Nice.
Oh,
And
is
it
that the one you were showing me earlier? Like when I was talking about getting a Pro controller for the Switch.
Yeah, this is the one I think you should get because
Mm.
I'm someone who grew up with what I call the PlayStation layout, sticks in the middle, not and the
No!
and the analog and the D-pad on the right.
Wrong.
Yep, yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I play. That's
No.
what I.
Shameful.
Now this is
no.
interesting because
No.
obviously you say that I'm a
Re-
PlayStation guy.
Real thing.
Yeah, I'm a PlayStation guy, so I have that same issue when I'm playing with PlayStation. I have that layout, but the controller that I use, obviously for Squadrons, is an Xbox controller, and even that feels natural for me. But bearing in mind, I really only use it
Only
like
way to
once
play.
a week.
Sorry.
The old GameCube controller. I also have got this, which I love, which I'll be using when we do my Mega Drive stream, which is my my M30, which is a Sega Saturn style retro controller, which pretty much only useful for for that. But again, it's the weird 3-button or sorry the 6-button layout that Sega tried for a while.
I mean, it's down to the point of like third-party controllers. You've got to split them into categories at some point because yes, you've got a lot of third-party controllers are just like cheaply made variations of the ones you'll use. What the hell is that? Oh, that thing. Yeah.
This is my Razer Raiju Ultimate. Now, I'm gonna say this is the only controller that I'm embarrassed about this amount of money I spent on it. You can go and find out how much a Razor Rise Ultimate costs. Because I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna say it live on stream. But all I say is that it is an embarrassing amount of money.
Was it 3 figures?
I mean, I'm not denying that it was 3 figures.
Okay.
That basically it is.
He's just not confirming which 3 figures.
Yeah.
No,
Ooh, free 1-day delivery.
Yeah. It
I
was.
wonder why.
It was in the realm of £150.
Yeah.
And it's expensive control, but it is a proper kind of. And people say why, and it's weird when I say it myself. It's the controller I use every time, and the reason for that is because I never have to touch the face buttons, because I actually have 3 triggers on the top
Wow.
and 2 pedals on the back.
What?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I never have to touch. I can always have my fingers on the analog sticks and never have to touch the face buttons.
Same reason why I want an Xbox Elite controller. You know, the ones with the reprogrammable buttons and stuff. I want those, but they're really expensive, and that's what I'm getting at. Is third party can be cut into different categories. You've got the cheap because you need it category. That's cheaper than the first party controllers. You've then got the category of specifically designed for people who can't use normal controllers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for those. Anything that lets people who can't play video games, give them that. Make those, make them affordable. Yes.
Xbox Accessibility's controller is a great example of that.
Fantastic idea.
Yeah, I heard news that they were doing some more of that or something.
Yeah, I hope they do loads of it. I hope they put out as much as possible to allow more people access to this medium. And then you've got the third column, which is deluxe.
Yeah, this is what this is effectively.
That controller there.
I got a third trigger on the top, and I've got 2 paddles on the back. So the idea is that it's linked to the face buttons, and you're actually surprising how useful that is. I mean, I originally got this because PlayStation released an add-on for their DualShocks, which allow you to get 2 paddles to the back. However, it was right at the start of the pandemic, and getting a hold of them was like gold dust.
Yeah.
And the money people were asking, I looked at it and thought, I might as well just get this. And it gives me 2 extra buttons.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how useful it is, because you can program them for a start. So you can be any button you want. And I actually have different controls to get. And to be able to not have to move my finger off the camera control.
Yeah.
And also be able to do stuff. It takes a while to wrap your head around, especially if you're switching the layout for each game. But once you get kind of like, okay, this is the layout for the game, not for the controller, it becomes almost second nature to the point where, and the point of them is to give yourself a competitive edge. And I've played Spider-Man before, and I can always have a view on my target because I'm moving the camera around constantly, yet I'm still delivering punches and doing dodges because I'm pressing the face buttons using the triggers. And usually it becomes a case of, okay, what do I put on the triggers? Like, for example, in Red Dead, the one on the right near my shoot button is zoom aim, which is on the up D-pad.
Yeah.
So now I don't have to stop moving or moving my aim if I want to increase my zoom. And it's the little things like that which gives you versatility, which is the one downside controllers do have, lack of versatility.
Yeah, and it comes back to what I was saying about squadrons. It's just like, I am programming my keyboard so I don't have to lift my hands off my throttle control and my roll control. And also, I'm lucky to have a mouse which has buttons on the side.
Oh yeah.
These 2 here.
The programmable mice are amazing.
Yeah, considering I usually hold it in a claw grip on this side. I can't usually reach over to the top button, but I can put other things on my bottom button, namely my countermeasures.
Yeah.
So if I get into a bad spot, I just need to lift my thumb up just a fraction of a couple of millimeters, and it's just like, job's done.
Yeah, it's like I use my mouse, the side buttons on my mouse, for Escape from Tarkov, because there's some things like where you've got optics on your weapons with various zoom, variable zoom, and you've got you've got sensitivity and all that sort of stuff. Say you want to hit something 200 meters away and your sensitivity's up high, you're not going to get you're going to go, and he's right there, and you're going to go, oh, I'm over there now, because sensitivity's too high. Having a mouse or any sort of controller with variables that you can use on the fly is amazing because up until then you had to use different keyboard combinations to get it done. And now I'm just like, okay, he's over there, 3 clicks of a mouse and I'm on him.
This is my my G502, my thing. And the thing about this is it's got on my thumb here, it has a DPI control, exactly what you're talking about, Lemming. So that literally it's meant for precision. So if I hit it, it slows, you can't see my mouse, but it slows my mouse down to a crawl. So effectively it stops. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, my mouse even has an indicator on it. So, for example...
Yeah, the thing is, I can change... I do the same thing. I can change the DPI. But the thing is, about this is actually a shift button. So, effectively, I click it and hold, and I release it, and it returns its normal.
Yeah.
Well, might just do it.
And it literally, if you look at it, it's got crosshairs on it, because that's what it's... They know it's going to be
That's what it's for, yeah. Yeah, and it's being able to do that on the fly makes, games with combat in that bit more versatile. You're not stuck at a single setting the whole way through when things could vary. There could be variation in what you're doing. You could be first, point blank combat 1 minute, but all of a sudden being fought at 200 meters. You need that variation in more hardcore games, especially today.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on motion controls?
If they do it right, I'm all for it.
You mean motion controls in terms of like using your sort of like hand movements?
I'm being very general with my application here of it, so it can be something as simple as the touchpad on a DualShock 4, or even as versatile as something like a Wii nunchuck and control stick.
I mean, if it's properly implemented and used in a way that can be done easily by pretty much everyone, like the Wii controller. Brilliant for little simple games. I used it with my family to play bowling all the time. But then you get something like the Xbox Kinect, which was badly implemented. It was a great idea. The whole body tracking system is fantastic, but the fact that it worked half the time, and then they released a Steel Battalion game for it, which I was incredibly hyped for.
Oh God, I remember that Angry Joe review.
Yeah. The fact that, the original Steel Battalion game came with a massive controller with everything on it, including an eject button. Brilliant. Fantastic. But then you've got these motion controls using the Wii, and you'd be trying to grasp the periscope to see what's going on around you. And why am I loading the gun?
Get your hand off that.
It didn't do it properly. So there's a big variation between like well implemented motion controls and badly implemented motion controls. But when they're done well, they're very immersive.
But isn't that the answer to everything, though?
Well, yeah, that's the whole point.
I mean, that's the whole point. You got to do it right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't bother. Really. I mean,
unfortunately, the Kinect was a brilliant idea, but a lot of the time it was done wrong.
Can I put it out there that I love the Switch's controls, the motion controls?
Yeah.
They're actually really precise.
Oh yeah, they really are. I mean, I've never owned a Switch, but my former flatmate did, and we played games on it often enough. And the little games that it should have been a pack-in game. The game that was full of mini games.
1-2 Switch.
That's the one. Yeah, I never remember the name of it, but the 1-2 Switch had loads of little mini games in that showed you the versatility of the individual Switch controllers.
Because I've been playing Mario Galaxy, and that, of course, was a Wii game, and actually it's quite shocking just how precise, without needing anything to track on, the motion controls are.
Yeah, my best example is in 1-2 Switch, where you have to hold it in your hand, like so, and then roll it to the left and right, and then guess, from the feeling of it, how many marbles are inside the box.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was that precise.
It is amazingly engineered. I mean, apart from the drift, it's an amazingly well-engineered little controller.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm gonna have to say, I think my favorite controller is actually the Switch nunchucks.
Yeah.
For one very ergonomic reason. That
Mm.
I
Oh.
have played games whereas normal I've got a controller right here. I have literally played games like this in my
Oh.
chair. I've played games laying in bed with my arms by my side, and
Ah.
it is the laziest controller.
Definition
I've-
lazy gaming.
but it is also one of the most comfortable ways I have ever gamed, and it's so useful. I mean, I'm getting out right now an example.
I mean,
'Cause-
yeah, it's not like you can do that with any controller that requires both hands.
Yeah, no,
You
you
know,
can't.
The Xbox controller, the
You can't-
PlayStation controllers, you have to.
Like PC, you have to put two hands on a key.
I can't have the right stick now. I can't use the right stick,
Yeah,
and that means I have to have my
Yeah.
hands here. Whereas with the Joy-Cons, I still
Yeah.
have full control. Yet by my side, I can put them here,
Yeah.
and I'm still playing very comfortably. And because I don't need to point at the screen for the because that's the thing people think. People think you need to point at the screen for the pointer system to work. You don't. You've got a center button for most games, and so literally on Mario Galaxy, I could just center and use the relative positioning to move the pointer. And that's why I think these are, again, drift problem aside, are some of the best controllers out there.
yeah. I completely agree. They're small, they're a comfortable package, and what you can do with them is actually astounding.
But
I
if
think
you
they're
think that
very
you
underrated.
no, but if you think that what you those Joy Cons are like a evolution of an evolution of an evolution of the original. If you're saying they are basically like a similar thing as the the Wii controllers, where you think to get the motion capture or motion sensor to work first time, you had to put an adaptation into it, and
Well,
that's
yeah.
actually inbuilt into the controller.
Well, it's that you had to have the sensor bar, so that it was like
Yes.
you sense where you're setting it. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Even then, the Wii controllers were limited because you only had two buttons. No, it's the two buttons on the trigger.
Yeah,
And this is effectively a full control just split in half.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't lose
Mm.
any performance at all.
That and the fact that they
Yeah.
act as individual controllers for the more simple games.
And that as well. I mean, sure, you're missing two buttons on there because you've not got two shoulder buttons, but that in itself is still impressive. You can play Mario Kart with two players
Precisely, yeah.
on just these.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, again, one of the most innovative companies out there. They have. I'm gonna sing the praise of Nintendo. I'm not a big Nintendo fan, never have been. The Switch is my first kind of home controller. Nintendo, even I am one to put down and say they're not a great company. They've got their own problems, but there's no better company for technological innovation
Hmm.
than Nintendo. Not, and sure, we could talk about graphics all day. Graphics are fine, but thing is, everything can look shiny. Ergonomics is something that is people don't tend to look at too much. And
Mm.
in my opinion, Nintendo have taken it and just like perfected the ergonomics of a controller by just splitting it in two.
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to graphics, the Switch still stands up there because
Oh, it's still very good.
Nintendo always concentrates its first party games on being bright and colourful, and that is a beautiful design aesthetic.
Hmm.
And the
We had enough
Switch,
of brown, thank you.
the Switch runs
Yeah.
Doom.
I think
Yeah, it
anything
does.
You know,
that's
Doom
too-
2016 is one of the most graphically intensive games out there.
Well, not just that, it runs. I've also got on my Switch Wolfenstein 2: The New Order.
Yeah.
That's not exactly not a graphical intensive game. I mean, there are concessions made, but it
Yeah.
still looks
Yeah,
very
it still
good.
runs.
Yeah, you'll notice I've been extremely quiet about motion controls, and that's because I've had nothing but bad experiences with them.
And that can
There you go.
happen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The Switch things are not perfect. In the fact, and actually, the big fault with the Switch controls is they're too good.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is, I've never tried the Switch controls, motion controls, because I've had such a bad experience with the Wiimote and the games. The games within it, like a certain Sonic game we won't say, just in case somebody we know
Is
is
in the chat.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just I mean, I've used motion controls before, and I've liked them in the games. I've liked them in some games, but since I've had such bad experiences with them, I've kind of, as soon as motion controls are brought up in any sense, I'm kind of like, nope.
Yeah, I'm
no,
out.
no.
That's
Yeah.
why. Because gyro aiming it makes aiming on a controller like aiming with one of these. I will go that far to say it's not as precise. You'll never get as good as a mouse, but goddamn, I can pull off headshots
certainly
in
up
Zelda
there.
Breath of the Wild. It's
Yeah.
up there because you do basic generic aiming with the thumbstick. You then precision it with the actual gyro, and it's a great little kind of control scheme, and it works very, very well in Breath of the Wild and also in Wolfenstein as well, where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
there. I mean, I could blast through many Nazis in Wolfenstein going through that, and that's the thing. And the one downside is nothing to do with the actual tech, but the developers, because in Mario Odyssey, there's stuff that you can only do using gyros.
Yes. That's the only thing
It
that stopped me
always
from
needs to
doing
be an
it.
option, not forced.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. They should be an optional extra, not a requirement. And that's why I'm very glad when they announced Skyward Sword as coming out, which I'm actually quite excited for. Shoot me. I never played Skyward Sword. They said, yeah, the game was all motion controls on Wii. Sure, you can do that, but we've also made the game completely playable with normal controls.
Thank you. Accessibility
Yes.
options. Brilliant.
Mm.
There you go.
Well, we're bang on 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is anyone else, is anyone to close out this discussion? Does the chat want to weigh in at all? I know Bear says Switch Joy-Cons are small and uncomfortable for big-handed me and give me blisters on fingers all the time. But for the ergonomic point of view, they're amazing designed. If I were you, Bear, get a couple of gel. There are some gel pads you can actually bulk out the actual size of the Joy-Cons, and they make them. Someone playing with someone with big hands. Like I've not got huge hands, but makes it very useful.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, I have tiny, thin ass hands, as you can see, but I must admit, I do tend to dwarf the Switch controller sometimes. It's just like, it doesn't hurt me or anything, but I can feel it dig into the pad of my thumb sometimes. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, all I would suggest for Shadow is if you do you have a Switch? I'm not sure if you.
No.
I do. I have it.
Oh, you do?
Oh, good.
But
If
I
you
can't
get
use it handheld mode
Ah,
though,
right.
because I don't have a thing.
right,
I
I'm
was
just
gonna say,
suggesting if you get the opportunity, try 1-2 Switch. Just at some point, it might resurrect motion controls for you. It's that good.
I mean, the way you guys have been sort of singing its praises, I definitely sort of consider it. Definitely consider like Mario Odyssey again. and
Definitely.
Probably the Let's Go.
Oh,
content as
in my opinion, motion controls are no reasons to not play Mario Odyssey, because yes, there are some requirements for that, but you can play the game perfectly well without them. There are only a couple of times where they are definitely needed, and I play it in with two Joy-Cons either undocked anyway, which you should definitely see if you can get a dock, because it's nice being playing on a big screen TV. But if not, just pop it on the table, do it that way.
Okay, I will consider it, but I have two large monitors, and they're serving as my computer monitors, and there's not much more connections out the back I can use.
That's why I got us a HDMI switcher.
Oh hush.
Or even it's, you could just like say it's an HDMI thing. You could just switch one out, switch one in. It's not. I know it's not ideal.
Wears out the connection eventually. That's why you want to avoid it. That's why I got the switcher.
Yeah, I've got a switcher for my Xbox and PlayStation.
I'll consider it.
That's all you can do. Well, I think that's a nice, comfortable place for us to end.
Yes.
There's a lot more. There are a lot more topics that we're going to discuss next time. Of course, we'll discuss more of the news in the kind of geeky gaming space zeitgeist. We've also got some topics some of us will cover. Board games, computer games will be a topic not necessarily covered next time, because I know that Dorkter wants to cover it, although we might cover it with both Bear and Dorkter. I also want to talk about the art of preservation of video games, which I think is a very big, important issue. And of course, that can sideline to emulation and things like that. Which I think would be nice, because I'll have to do between now and then, I might have done my Super Nintendo stream and my Mega Drive stream, so that's gonna be fun. Yes. Bear saying, first time I disconnected the Joy-Cons from the main block of the console, put it in the table next to the couch stand, and just sat there on my chair in front of it, hands hanging loose to the sides. That's when I enjoyed the epiphany moment of the Switch. It's so good, isn't it? Just being able to just like, yeah, I'm still gaming, having fun. Actually, I've laid in my bed under my duvet playing a game because I'm
Wow,
just
that
laying
is
there.
just that is just lazy. But
Well, I got the idea from Arlo because Arlo once said how when he had a Wii, he'd stand at the desk at his GameStop, and he was so good with the motion controls, he could actually do it underneath the counter. So someone just walking in would have him just stare, looking up at a screen, wondering what the hell's going on. I love Arlo. You should subscribe to Arlo.
Just
Great,
like,
a great.
are you watching
character.
someone play? Like, totally, yeah.
I'll join my Discord and I'll plug Arlo's channel. He's a great Nintendo focused content creator to watch.
Mm.
Right,
Anyway.
I think that's drawing us to a very nice and wonderful conclusion to this
and a
episode
nice
2.
positive one.
Yes, a nice positive ending to the Comment Dense podcast. Take it away, Ebak.
Yes, indeed. Thank you much for joining us here at the Common Dense podcast. Of course, next time we'll be on the stream. It'll be myself, Shadow, Lemming, and Burr, who'll be joining us, who is in the chat. And Dorkter might be joining us in the chat. I don't know. Depends on how your situation goes. We'll see how it progresses. Join us.
I intend to, at the very least, anyway, or whatever shape or form. So
We
fingers
most
crossed.
certainly will be raiding someone. I'm just basically finding out who we're going to raid at this time because we've got some potential prospects on who have got 5 people who are live. I'm guessing Scarf might
Scarf
still be
is
live.
still alive, yes.
Well, we'll definitely we'll go and raid the Scarf man. I mean, let's raid Scarf because it keeps in with the Game Blast theme for this week. So yeah, don't forget Game Blast this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come and watch the show. It's going to be quite an amazing time. Don't forget to donate. All information below. And here's some promotion for you guys to look at as well. There's the Just Giving page. You can donate now by going to the following link. Go at it. Join me. It's going to be one hell of an absolute laugh. I cannot wait. Hopefully, we can breach that £1,000. Fantastic. Anyway,
Fingers crossed.
we're going to go
And
and raid.
And also, if you don't worry if you can't spend any money, don't worry about it. Just share.
Yes.
Yeah,
Share. All right. We should Scarf. Yeah, Scarf is still alive. Let's go. So yeah, we're going to raid Scarfield. We're going to hold the button. There we go.
Notice it's the raid cannon, sir.
Yes. I think we'll just shout out Denser as the raid
We are
phrase.
the Densers. That's
We are
what
the
we are.
Densers. That's exactly what we are. So we'll see you all over at Scarf channel. He's a great friend. You'll love him. He does great content.
he's
Yes.
great.
See you all we'll see you next time. And I will see you this Thursday for Blasphemy. Ta-ta, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See ya.